Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to Phil's Recap and Review. This is The Sopranos, Season 5, Episode 1 and Episode 2. We're going to be doing a live watch and talking about these episodes. Wow, we are back for another Sopranos thing. We made it back this year. It's the longest running podcast in the history of YouTube, or whatever the hell we are. We're finally starting the back run of these Soprano episodes with Season 5. Season 5 is kind of a tonal shift, and we'll get all into why that feels that way and how the show was sort of heading towards its conclusion and maybe wouldn't even come back. There was a chance going before Season 5, probably the biggest, maybe between 5 and 6 as well, but we'll get into that later. But there was a big gap of time where it looked like The Sopranos might not come back. But we're here tonight to talk about the Season 5 premiere and the introduction to a new character. But if you haven't joined us... Several
new characters.
Several new characters, but obviously a new big one in the second episode. And if you haven't been with me before, here is my co-host, Matt. Matt, welcome back to this Soprano adventure.
Phil, I don't even know when the last time we did one of these was. I know that we planned this and then...
I think it was in January.
Okay, so we probably finished up Season 4 in January, and then we had this plan for like April, and my mother-in-law passed away, and then our dog, who was actually... Phil and I had a night set up to do this in May.
Yeah, I think it was.
And then my dog
April,
was
maybe.
A 15-year-old dog of mine who was the love of my life, who my wife and I actually named after a member, Rosalie April from The Sopranos passed away, and then we had to say goodbye to her. So then that kicked it off, and then also just issues over the summer, and then life happens, and you get out of practice with it. Phil, you and I did have something happen over the summer for the first time in a long time, though. That
we played the card game and no one was shot.
Correct, and Phil and I had not seen each other in person in over 5 years.
And we were almost going to do a Sopranos thing, but we didn't really have the time. And Matt, I'm trying to connect back to like our last show, and our last show we kept thinking that was the episode that Carmine would die. This was the episode that Carmine actually died, and I don't think I can ever eat egg salad again after watching that. And if just to set this up, if anyone wants to join and watch this together, we're going to be watching the episodes live and talking about it, doing a live commentary, but you don't have to watch live if you don't want to. We'll also try to give you context on what's going on and kind of set you up. But we're not alone. As you can see below me, I didn't do it, said Mel C. We got John Haymaker. We got SM Down. We got some friends popping in, popping out. We know that these Soprano casts are not as frequent, so we appreciate everybody that pops on in the live chat.
Not as frequent, and it's a show that's been off the air for over 20 years, and you and I have been doing this for probably 8 years now.
Yeah, but in fairness, Matt, like this break, and it has been, I went through a lot of stuff as well, Matt. It was a long stretch for both of us, and rest in peace to the amazing, beautiful, such a good girl, Rosalie April. But realistically, this is nothing compared to the before we got into Season 4, before we zipped through Season 4, like within almost a year, we basically, I think we had taken like 900 days off. So just taking 300 days off isn't really that bad for this show, because we are not running out of episodes, because we do have a lot more to talk about. But Season 5 does change things up and changes the vibe. I wrote this because I was listening to the Talking Sopranos cast, which are now available on HBO, and I also want to talk to you about the David Chase documentary at the end if you haven't had a chance to watch that yet. But between the final episode, and I guess it's appropriate to what we're doing here, Matt, because between the final episode of Season 4 and the first episode of Season 5, it was a 15-month break. Really long time. I think the longest break in between any moments of The Sopranos. And because originally they were only contracted to do 4 seasons. So David Chase, James Gandolfini, everyone wasn't sure, besides everyone else in the cast, besides those two. Everybody else was like, when are we starting? What are we doing? But there was this big, and I remember it at the time, was that it? Like after 4 seasons. Now, would The Sopranos have had the same historical remembrance vibe, people calling it what they call it as the greatest show of all time, or in the conversation with The Wire, Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, like whatever you want to put in that conversation, would it still have that if it had ended at the end of Season 4, do you think, Matt? Or did we need these final 2 seasons? Did we need Don't Stop to solidify its like place in history? I'm just curious what you think about that.
It's hard because season 6 is like considered the worst season.
In some ways, season 6 is. I would 6A anyways. 6.
Well, no, 6B, the veto stuff. A lot of people were turned off. Just like, why are we doing this? And God, AJ, AJ's annoying, I guess, at every point in his own little special way, isn't he?
He gets worse as time goes on, though.
He does. I think the one thing I'll say about like season 5, just from watching these 2 episodes, which for everyone out there, Phil and I have now had to rewatch these 2 episodes like 3 or 4 times because we planned on doing this a bunch of times and not actually done it. I think at this point they know who the characters are, and I think the writing is really tightened up, and the episodes seem to be a lot more focused at this point because they've had 4 years of knowing what they're doing.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And we got the amazing Eric Nolan in the live chat. Great to see Eric Nolan. Please make sure you look up Eric Nolan, see all the incredible work he had done on Game of Thrones, Vikings, the new Viking series. Eric, love you, buddy. Great to see you in the live chat, sending you lots of good energy. Hope we coordinate to do a show you're watching at some point soon and get you in the chat and get you on the show eventually. I've been saying it for years, and I still want to get you on at some point. But yeah, Mel, no more damn egg salad. John says, give me $1,000. Maybe I'll do it. We got Jay in the live chat. Great to see Jay. Phil, I never really did have the makings of a varsity YouTuber. I don't know how to shell enough. Oh, remember, everybody, like, comment, and subscribe, please. No, like, I can't do it. Can't do it as well as some. Okay, so, but Matt, you mentioned it earlier, and as I said before, we're going to be watching this episode live. If you want to watch it with us, now's the time to sort of get your stuff together so you're ready to push play. We're going to do a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 play, and then sync it up.
I got to ask you a question.
Yes.
Is yours
go into a commercial?
Go into a commercial for the Penguin?
Yes, immediately. So I was going to talk to you about this before we started, but we ended up having a different conversation. So I don't know what to do. Should we? I think we should skip it and then try to sync up once the episode starts. So you and I and everyone in the chat will all talk together. It's not on the second episode, but the first episode, you can't start that episode without the Penguin ad, which I understand because they're trying to target Soprano fans with that. Penguin's a different story altogether that I will talk about at some point. I'm enjoying it. In 5 episodes in, whatever it's 4 or 5 episodes in, very good stuff. Anyways, but and yes, there is, you can tell the inspiration, or there is some inspiration in the Penguin character from Gandolfini's Tony Soprano performance. Maybe I want to see it because I heard it before, but it's definitely there. But anyways. Yeah, exactly, John Haymaker. We'll sync at the theme song. And I'm trying something different too, Matt. I have the television very close, so it's going to be loud when I push play. But you were talking about, as we're getting into this episode and this season in general, they sent out a few characters with the disappearance of Furio. We'll talk about Furio at the beginning a little bit, because a lot of stuff happens in this break. It wasn't just a break in the production. They also take some time. Bobby and Janice are married. Did they have a baby already? Like 2 or something? So it's been a while. Furio's gone.
And the way they drop the bomb that they're married is she's looking for her wedding ring.
Right, exactly. They just yada yada them being married. It's right. Like, it's yada yada, Janice and Bobby are married. Yada yada yada, all these people are on the take. Yada yada, it's all these characters are coming out of jail and being introduced into the cast after a few old mainstays left in season 4, where you lose Joey Pants halfway through season 4. You lose Furio and his big part of the cast, of the main cast, and you bring in people like Feach LaMotta. I'm blanking on that actor's name. Robert Loggia. Yeah. Oh yeah, dude. I mean, he's been in so many movies. He's the atypical general with the cigar in his mouth, like going, we got to get these bastards. You know,
he's
like
in Independence Day. He's in I think he's a big part of Scarface. Isn't he in Scarface?
Yeah, he's a huge part of Scarface.
Yeah. And he's a big part of Independence Day.
Yep. And he's and literally we could list his credits over and over again. Then you have of course Steve Buscemi, who we'll talk about a lot more in the second episode. You have the
Shah of Iran comes out, and he's
obviously a big part of Endgame of this series.
Huge part of it. And if we were to count like Tony's big nemesis as being
Nemesis? Is it Nemesis? Nemesis? Nemesaries? I like that. Nemesis.
I don't want to count Junior or his mom being those, but like...
Oh, his mom was one, not Junior. But Junior was a pawn in the plan of everything. Livia was definitely an antagonist.
You've turned Livia into being the mastermind.
I've turned Livia into a negative folk anti-hero or whatever. No, actually, which is all I need. That was too much. All I have to say, it turned into a folk anti-hero. Or villain, folk villain. Oz looks like Tony with scars on his face. Yeah, and you wonder how he got those scars. Penguin is like the Sopranos. It's not like the Sopranos. I'm not gonna say it's like the Sopranos, but it's not like the Sopranos. Set in Gotham City. It's fun. It's not bad. We got the hemp in the live chat. Yeah, Robert Loggia was a Hollywood old school, almost similar to Burt Young. Like getting Burt Young and him both in your series at one point in time is very like having both of them is a score because they're both very that guy of that era. They're in everything.
I think the thing about Phil Leotardo that's so great is of Tony's what I consider three biggest nemesis as being
Ralph,
Richie Aprile, Ralphie, and Phil. Phil's the one that by far has the most power behind him because he's got the other guys are people that Tony can kind of whack at any point and sort of get away with.
But not at first, as we're going to watch in season 5. Phil in season 6 is a very different Phil than in season 5. Would you consider John a adversary for Tony?
No, they're too good of friends throughout so much. John, I've been watching other clips and old episodes too. He's one of the best characters.
He's so good. Yeah, he's so good at it, at what he brings to the show in that energy of Johnny Sack and playing that duplicitous, like you don't know if he is on your side or not on your side, but working his own agenda. And
he seems like he's smarter than everyone else in the room.
Yeah,
everyone.
Always.
And he plays the end when he gets sick. He plays that incredible. Like he plays the whole thing. Great.
Yep.
He's a great actor.
And in the end, we got people in the live chat quoting Olivia. I wish the Lord would take me now. If you could die in the end, you die in your own arms, AJ. That's one of the finest late season Soprano things. The fact that they bring back that conversation when AJ is crying and AJ's in therapy, and they're talking to him, and he's like, "Remember that time? Remember when I used to?" And Tony's like, "Remember when's that's the worst form of communication." Shut up, AJ. But anyways, and then we get. I'm blanking on the actor's name, but the actor that plays the consigliere from John. What's his name?
He's such a minor character, but he does.
And he's an actor that's been in everything too. Like I've just known him, and I found out on the Talking Sopranos he was a semi-pro footballer at one point in time. And there's more too that get introduced. I guess the one that is the most important, the one that stays the longest, and the one that has the direct effect on the entire season is Buscemi. And I don't want
Phil Leotardo on the whole series.
Yeah, but Phil becomes more of a regular character rather than a one season sort of
Joey Pants, right?
Joey Pants, even though Joey Pants was a season and a half, it was still or Richie, but
right.
He came in like Poochie a little bit. I'm not gonna step away from it. Like I love Tony B, and I know Matt and I disagree with a little bit. I don't think Matt has any problems with Buscemi's performance of Tony B. It's more about like, oh, he was around all the time, and the fact that he doesn't necessarily look like he belongs in the Soprano family. But
my other problem is at the time that the show came out, not anymore. The time the show came out, Steve Buscemi was the most famous person that was on the show.
Listen, shut the fuck up, Donnie. I'm sorry.
He was the most famous person on the show at the time, actor-wise.
Yeah.
That wasn't, on it from the beginning. Joey Pants wasn't this. this and The Matrix together, which kind of came out at the same time. Matrix came out in '99. Was like,
but Steve Buscemi was iconic already at the time that he put there, maybe at Buscemi prime, and
yes,
and I would.
Fargo had happened. All these huge roles.
So I get what you're saying. It's not so much about the performance or about the casting. It's about that him being such a big star. When you saw him on screen, it kind of took you out of the moment of being in the Sopranos world because you're like, there's Steve Buscemi. That's not Tony's cousin.
I also don't think that he necessarily pulled off playing Italian as well as other people did, with all the New Jersey mannerisms.
He's like, I am Italian.
Yeah. Oh, cuz it's like awkward. It doesn't sound the way that Tony says it or Paulie says it.
No, fair. My problem with it is more, I have no problem once it gets started, but the way it gets introduced is a little poochy. Like, he's always been here. Yeah. Hey, it's Tony B. Come on in here, right. Tony B. You're always around. You don't remember Tony B. He's the most handsome guy in the whole downtown. You know?
And they even joke about it.
Like, that's Nookie goddamn taunt.
Genesis kids are like, how come we've never heard of you?
Right.
It would make sense because it's Janice's.
It's good tongue-in-cheek stuff.
Right.
But Matt, like, I don't know if you watch this series, and people are talking about it in the live chat. I see it with my peripheral vision right here, with my side butthole eye. Like, I look at him and I go, that's Nookie Thompson. What's Nookie damn Thompson doing in the middle of Sopranos world? And I know Boardwalk was after.
It was after.
It was after, okay. So yeah,
or at the same time, but like Sopranos have been on for 3
or maybe years. It like can't, like I'd have to look at the years, and I'm talking like an asshole because I legitimately don't know. I don't know if Boardwalk had started towards the end of the Sopranos run or if it was like the Sopranos ended and then Boardwalk started. Either way, when I look at him in retroactively, even or at the time when I looked at him, I was like, oh, that's Donnie, or that's Mr. Gray or Mr. Pink. Who was he in Reservoir Dogs? Or
he was Mr. Pink. I don't want to be Mr. Pink. He's like, no one gets to choose because everyone wants to be Mr. Black.
Right, or the guy from Fargo, or the guy from this, or like, it wasn't. It took me
or Donnie, like you said.
Yeah, before. Donnie. Shut the fuck up, Donnie. So it was, or the guy from the rock and roll movie Airheads, or whatever. So it took me a moment, but I got over that really quick because I think it's a really good performance. I think he pulls it off, and I think especially at the beginning half of the performance and watching his decline go from somebody that really wants to be out of it and watching how Tony gets you no matter what. Yeah, like Tony,
it's sad watching it.
And seeing it paralleled with what's happening to Christopher all season, I think is wonderfully portrayed by all three of them, by Gandolfini, Buscemi, and Michael Imperioli. I think all three of them really pull off that cousin vibe, and like how Tony is the dark cloud in all of it, and kind of sucks you into his world like a bad Batman sucking Grayson Robbins into his world. Like, like come into my world, Dick Grayson, come into my world, Drake, what's something Drake, or come in my world, Jason Todd. Like, it's like almost ominous, but and you get one of the best visualizations of that moment in the episode where Christopher, I think it's in season 5, where Christopher comes out of rehab no, that's later on. That's season 6. I'm sorry. I'm going to talk it up my ass right there. That's like when Christopher drinks for the first time, when Tony's like, just, oh no, it is in this season. When Tony yells at him for being an asshole and not drinking, and then he goes and makes up with Paulie and they're drinking, and then
Paulie starts making fun of him about his daughter.
No, that's season 6. It is season 6.
He has a daughter by that point. Yeah.
Right. So it is season 6. It must be post the movie.
And I'm not gonna lie. Season 5 and season 6 are the 2 seasons I've watched the least. When I go back and rewatch episodes, they're seasons 2, 3, and 4 almost exclusively. So there's episodes of season 6, Phil, I've probably seen only once.
People in the live chat, let me go into. They felt Michael Madsen would have been a better Tony B. One guy said, I could have seen I think Michael Madsen would have been a better Tony B. I don't disagree with that performance, although I like that they gave Buscemi something, and I would have liked Buscemi. There's other roles Buscemi could have played, but I think he pulls it off, and he's great. People are going to watch this go, Tony B was great. Shut the fuck up, you guys. But I do think it's nothing wrong with his performance. I just, there's other people that might have been able to play that. See, Melly's MC says Buscemi played the fuck out of that part. I've come to are they Shut the fuck up, John Haymaker.
Seriously.
There was vapor flavored. Shut the fuck up, Donnies. That's the man I'm going to hell for.
I am the walrus.
That's not John Lennon. Oh, communism is a red herring. Sacrilege. Steve Buscemi is amazing. No, Steve Buscemi is amazing. But I'm sorry. I'm like in my imagination. Sometimes I see someone like Robert De Niro playing that role. I don't know why. Or
no, and I think to me part of it is this too. I don't think there is a better Ralphie on planet Earth. Like I don't see anyone else playing that role.
Eugene Pontecorvo was almost going to play Ralphie.
It would have been terrible.
Yeah,
because Richie Aprile is the greatest casting that's ever been done in the history of anything for a single like no one could have played Richie better than Richie played Richie, and I think that's to your point, Phil. I think I could see other people playing Tony maybe better than Steve.
Yeah,
but let's get started.
Yeah, let's get started. I just want to say one thing. James is right. The fact he directed 2 episodes and he was such a fan and friend of the series and such a great actor, like literally one of the best actors on the planet. Steve Buscemi kills it in this role. I'm more trying to empathize with the way Matt feels. Season 5 is one of my favorite seasons. I know a lot of people do think Prime Sopranos is 2 through 4, like you said. And it is, and it's fucking amazing. But season 5 is one of the tightest narrative seasons as a whole season, in the sense of, and I think 4 and 5 thrive in that, and having sort of a theme, sticking to it, and pushing that through the whole episode. There's not a lot of
and not having weird fucking. I think it's in season 3. Is that the Columbus Day episode? Like stuff like that. That's like a one-off. That like if they made it. Today,
I think that's 4 actually. I think that was 4 maybe. But
either way, in 5 they wouldn't have done that by this point.
Right. They're all business in this season. I was just gonna call you Tony, Mr. Soprano. I'm co-hosting with someone named Tony, so my influence is to go Tony. I think I call you Joe sometimes too. I'm like an old podcasting grandma, and I call you every name. I'm like Joe, Tony, David, Matt. Sorry.
Which Tony am I? Oh no, he says it's like Tony Uncle. It's the most awkward thing.
Because I was like Tony Uncle Larry. And okay, we're gonna start this episode because we've talked about almost everything, but one of the things I want to talk about in this first episode, like main theme and the main thing behind this first episode, which is the whole like Melfi stuff. But let's get into this. If you guys are watching along now, we have our episodes synced up. Episode 1 of season 5, the 2 Tonys. I just pushed play, but let me draw back. Forget it. Don't do it yet. Oh shit! I had skipped the commercial for some reason. But no, I'm gonna restart it. I'm on the restart screen. Matt, are you ready?
Are you starting with the penguin or not?
I'm starting where it says like the main screen and reset 5-1. I'm just gonna click reset 5-1. All
right.
Okay, you ready? Let me know when you're ready.
I'm ready.
Okay, here we go, everybody. Hey, don't throw shade at old podcasting grandmas. I'm an old podcast. I'm throwing shade at myself, Mel. Oh, here we go. 3. Okay, remember it's on go. 3, 2, 1, and then go.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
You ready?
I'm born ready.
Okay. 3, 2. You're right. Here we go. One more time.
I hate you.
Sorry. 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, I think you're a little ahead of me.
I am. Oh yeah, it's right. You can hear me. I'm gonna turn mine down.
Oh no, you can hear me too. Like, I don't care if this is a crossover. Should we let the penguin thing? Are you letting the penguin thing play or no?
Just let it go.
Okay, just let it. How long is it? No, it's like the whole episode. Oh no.
No, it's it. It's over now.
Okay. There you go. It's like the whole episode. It's playing the whole episode. Okay, I meant static. You can probably hear me once it kicks in.
Yeah, I'm a little tiny bit behind you.
Okay. Doesn't. So I gotta make sure I talk. Let me mute the music here for a second so I don't get a fucking copyright thing because I moved the TV very close to me, and so it's like right in front of me. So those of you who are listening along will probably be able to hear the episodes better than ever, which might end up getting this video flagged, but we still did this, Matt. You know, like we're not redoing this if this shit gets flagged. Junior was in Boardwalk Empire with a really cool looking beard. It is one of the best songs and the best intros in television history. I think this intro influenced the whole generation of these long form television series that came after it, that having these big intros and I think it works so well. And watching the David Chase documentary, thinking about like the song and how they picked it and figuring this out, it was sort of happy accidents in some ways that figured this out too. And I think that's the best way with theme songs in some cases, like the Scrubs.
This was the first show on HBO where when that HBO's thing popped up, you expected this song to kick in.
Yeah. Now a lot of people will say they expect to hear the Game of Thrones theme, but this was the first one of those. Okay, this episode was directed by Tim Van Patten, and this was written by David Chase and Terry Winter. So this is a typical crew Soprano episode, like the main crew.
You know, I've heard this before, that Robert Loggia, the reason he was features only in a couple episodes is he like couldn't remember his lines or something like that.
Yeah, they were talking about that a little bit on the Talking Sopranos stuff, and I guess he was having some problems with that. He was 75 at the time, but also they were making reference that on most shows and movies that Michael and Steve had worked on, the directors and the writers let you paraphrase a little bit. And so you could always sort of get it in your own words. And The Sopranos is word perfect. Like Chase wants you to say it exactly. I mean, if I say and I say cut, do it again. You know, like...
No.
And
as it should be, though, because the dialogue is so perfect.
In some shows, it really does matter. And I think that was tough for someone who had done that probably their whole career, sort of taken dialogue and made it their own and verbalized it to kind of send that out there.
It's a shame because he is a great character.
Oh, he is.
Like, I would like little shit when he brings the dandelions over for Junior to eat. That's such a just old Italian guy thing to do. Like.
They were saying that was the scene that he was having trouble in, and they were like shooting that scene like over and over again. So this shows sort of the passage of time of everything that's happened.
Why is Meadow driving a shitbox, by the way? Do we know this?
I don't know. Is this starting her? Is she with Finn at this point?
Not yet, but look at that.
That's a Finn Bertolio car if I've ever seen one. No, it's actually a nice car. It's just looks like, oh no, it's a Ford. It's like a Taurus. Oh, and I guess that actor right there, that's like one of the writers or one of the directors. That might be Matthew Weiner, the creator of Mad Men and writer of episodes. That could be the wrong person, but I believe that's who it is. And here we go is where we get introduced in sort of a very interesting exposition-y kind of way, and other shows can't pull this off, but David Chase is just like, okay, we're introducing new characters. Here's the new characters. They're gonna be good. Right. Deal with it. You know, and I don't mind this at all, Matt. It's an interesting way of doing it. You know what I mean? They just like sort of like, here are the guys. Welcome. They're on the show now.
You know, Phil, neither one of us lived in New York as a kid, but I'm wondering if anyone out there that's listening, any of the like three of you, lived in New York. Is this a thing that actually gets talked about on the news? Do they talk about mafia people coming out? I mean, I know John Gotti was like on the front page of newspapers, but is this a thing that would get announced somewhere if you live in a city like on the local news? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if we ever I can't remember our local news talking.
Well, we did hear about Whitey Bulger constantly, and if Whitey Bulger was getting released, they would have said something about it. Or if Old Man Gennaro got released, they would have mentioned it, I guess.
Mm-hmm. So I guess they recasted Bobby's daughter, I believe. Because the other girl was...
Let you know how much it mattered who they had as Bobby's daughter.
Yeah, and we meet our new class, 2004. Yeah, and Mel, we meet our new cast via a screencast, or like a newscast, which is interesting to kind of just get that over with as we see the continuation of the Sunday dinners now without Carmela, and Janice trying to hold everything together now that she's married to Bobby, and she's like, did your mother give me anything to help me out here? Nope. Nope. Carmela's not helping you.
And I love this line from AJ.
I think this is my favorite AJ season. I think he's the least annoying in the season. No, this is the season he's like really shitty to Carmela all season, right?
Literally sits outside screaming "mommy" in about 5 minutes. So I don't want to hear how this is your.
Dude, what would you do? I know you're living out there in the boonies of like Vermont or wherever the hell you are.
I wouldn't have yelled for my mom. What the hell is she gonna do?
You would yell for Mrs. Matt.
Certainly wouldn't have.
Yeah,
you'd
be like, Mrs. Matt, save
mommy?
me.
I've never yelled "mommy" in my life over something like that when I was.
No, but you're telling me you wouldn't poop your pants?
Of course I would, but I wouldn't be screaming "mommy."
Okay,
I wouldn't. I'm literally probably a better drummer than him.
On the scale, yeah, I was gonna say on the scale of drummers of all time, where does AJ Soprano rock your world?
Well, you can tell someone taught him how to kind of keep a 4/4 beat in a really bad way.
A $5,000 drum set. What I mean where I say this is the best AJ, I believe his performance this season. Like what his reaction is to this whole situation, how like he was listening in that argument in Whitecaps and seeing it connected to that, and how he kind of auto-corrected his brain to take Tony's side, and he's taking out all this aggression, and Tony sort of, again, adding gasoline to that fire by giving him a gift, giving him like $5,000 drum set and tell him to go to the fucking Ritz and all that.
And not only doing that, but kind of having Carmela be a little, not have a coffee maker that works.
Mm-hmm. Now the coffee sucks. As we'll get to it. Carmela, I've said it before, I'll say it again. Edie Falco is the best performance on the show. Like even greater all in all than Gandolfini. It's more consistent and great. I do. Like I think Gandolfini has higher highs, Matt, but she is so consistent, even to the point where, like in that stupid LeBron video, like Gandolfini's having a shit with it, and she's locked into Carmela. She's locked into Carmela, back in Carmela. Don't get me wrong, Matt. Tony's the best character on the show. I just mean her performance is so rock solid through the whole thing.
No, and I think the thing that this show does...
And she's just like, as Mel said, she's GOAT actor in the world. She's like one of the best actors to ever act. I really believe that.
And there's certain people in this show to handle what Gandolfini has. You have to have people that are also giving those performances because and that's why Junior's so great, because imagine if Junior was a shitty actor.
Yeah, absolutely. Matt, I'm going to compare it to like a rock thing, and you're going to probably go, oh, whatever. But it's like when you watch Primus, you're like, oh my God, Les Claypool's the greatest fucking thing in the world. But Larry Lalonde, is that his guitar player's name? Larry Lalonde has to be freaking amazing to keep up with Les Claypool. Yeah. They have to have a drummer that can keep up with the reason why.
You said the same thing about Rush. Like, Geddy Lee's the best bassist. Yeah, well, you have Neil Peart and Alex Lifeson who are that also.
And I think that's the same thing in The Sopranos. Like, even though you got Les Claypool soprano over there, you got her doing this shit too. This guy on the left side, that plays the dude that
you
Tony.
Think he's pretty hot, don't you?
No, but he was it Gossip Girl, playing Chuck Bass's father, Charles Bass. You should know that. I do know that. Gossip Girl's great. You should watch it. It's awesome. But yes, that's what I know him from.
Again, Janice, another one who has to stand up to Tony, and again has those same acting chops that Janice has, and obviously Richie
has, Junior has, Chris has. You said Janice, Livia.
Joey Pants does.
Joey Pants Livia absolutely does. And Paulie does in his
Johnny
way.
Stack does.
Paulie does in his way, and Bobby does in his way. Like, they fit in the parts that they need to play.
But what I was saying but they're not ever going head to head with Tony.
Paulie is. And Bobby does a couple times too, Matt. And
Bobby does once.
I would say there's three characters that I put in sort of like a specialty group for you, Matt, with that, where it's like Syl, Bobby, and Paulie aren't the greatest actors in the world, but they're
perfect for these.
But they're perfect for those roles, and they have chemistry with Gandolfini because they were friends with him in real life, so it translates in person. The most forgotten about Gumar of Tony, would you say, is Valentina? Even though like there's some memorable stuff. Like once Ralph was gone, she kind of lost a lot of zest for like as a Tony Gumar, and this leads into Tony verbalizing and getting obsessed with Melfi, and probably correct me if I'm wrong, Tony. Correct me if I'm wrong, Matt.
If you're gonna call me Tony, I gotta figure out who you're gonna be.
No, but it's Chris or no, I'm
Benny Faziano.
Yeah, I'm criminal mastermind. Benny Faziano. I'll take that. But is this the first time we see Tony really being like pathetic Tony? Like really pathetic, like where he's sort of like when he's like, I'm half a stalker here, and his whole approach on Melfi, who is the other one that can match his strength in scenes that we haven't talked about yet at all. But Lorraine Bracco can go head to head with Gandolfini like no one can, and Tony comes off in this episode. It's the first time, and it's not the last time in the series, but for me, it's the first time he comes off as like creepy, like really, really kind of creepy and pathetic. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think part of it's because he has no other. Well, no, he comes off as creepy. Yeah, well, I guess you don't see him creepy.
Like really creepy in this.
Yeah.
You know, maybe when he whips but no, that's not even creepy. That's played as romantic. Like I'm saying, even the way they play it on the show, they play it like this is the beginning of David Chase breaking down Tony Soprano in front of you as this season and showing you he's not like this folk anti-hero that people wanted him to be in those first 4 seasons. This is the beginning of Chase's deconstruction of Tony Soprano in this season, where being the boss is breaking him down. And I think it's the fun of Tony is more sparse in this season and even more sparse in the next 2 seasons, post getting shot and almost disappeared completely after the Junior shooting.
Except for his little trip to Vegas
after he kills Christopher. Yeah.
Yeah, on peyote, right?
Yeah, on peyote.
Well, by that point, like you've lost all respect. After Christopher's the last straw for everyone. Anyone that was still like holding on that he was that there was going to be some positive, I don't know, change or positive opinion that they were going to have of him. Everyone loses it after Christopher.
So speaking of Christopher and Paulie, this is when their beef escalates very randomly, and this is a very true situation that happens with friends of shooting the shit and kind of busting balls. Like, it's tough when you're busting balls with people that are sensitive and you're dealing with maybe the most sensitive mafia guy in the history of the world with Paulie. And then Christopher is not much better. Christopher has a temper. He can be kind of okay sometimes, but like dealing with Paulie, they are just like too.
And they've always done that.
Yeah, 100%. And this is the impacting point, which leads to a lot of hijinks later on in this episode, which, as horrible as it sounds, leads to, I think, the second funniest Sopranos moment of all time, the second funniest Sopranos murder of all time, which makes me a horrible person to say this, but these are television characters. These are marionette beings. These aren't real humans. And when what happens to the waiter at the end of the episode, it's like hilariously horrible. And then Paulie and Christopher's reaction to it. But
he's fucked up, right?
Yeah, he's fucked up. And then the next day when they're like, "Oh, we got to be careful. Someone could have got hurt last night." Like just the way,
right.
The way they have that reaction to it, it's just hilarious. But right here, starting right from the beginning, I think at first, maybe this should have been the trivia, the poll question or not. I guess she admits it later on this episode, but do you think, I don't know how to ask this question exactly. Do you think Bracco plays it as she's attracted to Tony / do you think Melfi is actually somewhere attracted to Tony?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. I think when she says to Elliot later, there was part of me that finds him sexy. It works, but when she finally lets him have it, Michael Imperioli said this in the Talking Sopranos, so I'm stealing it from him, but he's right. Like when she kind of slaps him across the face with like all the horrible shit he's done, Matt, she's basically saying to him, I'm not as dumb as Carmela. Like I'm not gonna sit here and deal with this shit. Like I'm not just gonna eat your bullshit. Like I'll be your therapist because you pay me, and like not judge you because that's what therapists do. Like I'll be here to help you, in your best interest. But you want me to date you? No. Like maybe in a fantasy I'll think about you because you're sexy to me in a bad way. But like, no, fuck no.
No, and she has the dream that she is banging him.
Yeah, that she's actually physically into him, and that connects to like his line later, which is probably one of the lines from The Sopranos I most use. It's if you don't like my face or the cut of my jib, just let me know. Like when I'm trying to talk to somebody about like, just tell me how you're feeling here. Like if you don't, I'll just end the matter right here. If you don't like my face or the cut of my jib, I'll end the matter right here. It is probably one of the lines I quote most from The Sopranos. So, yeah, I forgot to mention, we talked about the bear in the first part. As you mentioned, AJ kind of cried, mummy, mummy. And now the bear's back, and the bear stalks them. Obviously, this parallels with the two Tonys to not just Tony B. Tony B isn't even in this episode. It's more of the parallel with the bear, as I believe, again, correct me if I'm wrong, people that are watching this later, or anyone that's watching now, or Matt. This is the season that ends with Tony climbing through the woods at the end after leaving Johnny Sack's house, running from the feds, like the bear at the beginning of the season, right? Like, this season kind of ends with Tony as the bear.
This season ends with Tony getting shot, I believe.
No, I think that's in season 6. I think that's 6B. 6A ends with that, essentially.
No. 6A is Kevin Finnerty. 6B is post Kevin Finnerty.
I think this season ends with Johnny Sack going to jail and Tony running home and coming through the woods.
No, I think he gets shot. I think that was the cliffhanger, was him getting shot at the end of this. Because 6A is Kevin Finnerty, 6B is Vito and the war at the end.
You're wrong.
I'm not wrong.
I think you're wrong. I don't think Junior doesn't shoot him at the end of the season. That's in season 6.
No,
It happens early in season 6, but it's in season 6.
Erroneous.
We'll see, Matt. Are you willing to put poker chips against me right now?
No, I'm just gonna keep saying erroneous from Wedding Crashers.
And if you're wrong, you'll just start saying inconceivable. So as Carmela starts to tell Tony about what's going on, I'm
gonna Google it while we're sitting here doing this.
We start to get a feel for more of what's going on in their relationship post separation. Thank you, Time to Smile. Thank you for doing Googling format, but he's going to need to see it himself to know he's wrong. And then he's going to say, inconceivable. There's nothing I've liked more since the 3rd grade is when Matt's wrong. So here we go. Chuck Bass's dad. See, I'm not even sweating it. Chuck Bass's dad and Carmela start to flirt a little bit, and Tony don't like it. And so he starts.
Season 6, episode 1. Correct, you are.
So Tony does this and kind of like gives the insulting tip, as Steve Schirripa was saying.
It's like, yeah, I'm more of a man than
you.
Than you.
Oh, Tony. So this is a crazy season if you think about their entire relationship then, Matt. Like, it goes from this dynamic right here to her and Wiggler have to be all in this season, and then eventually the Marco Polo episode where the two of them start to get back together, and then this season has to ultimately end with them together because Tony shows back up at the house. So it's definitely an interesting back-to-back parallel between season 4, watching them slowly break up, and season 5, watching them slowly get back together.
Yeah. Because you don't see any hints of that in the first 2 episodes.
No, like season. Right here, it's like it seems like they'll almost never get back together. Although there's hints here and there of them flirting or talking kind. But this is one of the greatest lines. Is this when they get into the Furio thing? Oh, yeah, because he says I'm old school here. Yeah, it is here. Let's listen to a little bit of this.
You check yourself into a hotel until this thing blows over. It's $1,200 extra on top of our agreement. I'm not going to a hotel. Why not?
But he won't pay for a fucking coffee machine.
Get a kick out of it. It's an adventure. God knows he loves room service.
I'll give him room service. The end of my foot.
Hey-o.
What's the attitude?
Well, he's an asshole. That's
I want to get that sound drop, Matt. He's an asshole.
you feel guilty about the separation.
The way he's an asshole.
Wasn't my idea.
So I don't want to interrupt this scene too much because I do kind of want to get into this a little bit, but like I almost akin Edie's performance here to Gene Stapleton playing Edith Bunker. Like this voice is so unique and grating but captivating at the same time. And she's nothing like this. You know, in real life, Edie Falco doesn't even remember what she did as Carmela because she was so not like this. Okay, Richie.
I'm old school.
Is he wearing the jacket right now?
No, the jacket's gone.
I
Jacket
know.
belongs to the what was the Richie calls him the Pollock or something.
Yeah, but this guy, it looks almost like the jacket. Okay, so this is what I wanted to talk about, Matt, because
Phil, just FYI, you know the camera. Oh no, there we are. We're on again. Okay.
this I was doing hippie activities. This line right here, okay, but the coffee sucks. How do you like those apples? The line about Furio, the yada yada Furio is Tony's full of shit. Furio's in zero danger, right? Like, if Furio made it back to Italy, they don't give a fuck about this pygmy thing in New Jersey, and they're not giving up Furio. Furio, like, you know what I'm saying? Like Tony's like, if someone sees Furio, he's if he comes to Jersey, maybe something like that. Like, no one's getting Furio in Italy. Like, it has to be said, right? Like Furio's not like dealing with any repercussions for this, right?
I don't know that because there is that conversation Furio has with his dad or something.
But he didn't do anything with her. He didn't even kiss her.
Right.
But this is the scene apparently that took them a long time to shoot.
No, it's the one after this.
Is it? Okay.
There's no dandelion greens here. This is the first one where he sees Tony, and then there's a second one.
And this is our first junior sighting of the show as well. Mel says, no, Tony would have had Furio whacked if someone found he could do it. Absolutely, but I'm saying that maybe that Italian family that we saw in Italy in season 2, where Furio, was it season 2 or season 3? Whatever. Season 2. When they brought Furio home, were so inclusive in their own thing that if Furio came and asked for protection, that they would not let them extradite him or get him in Italy. Like, Furio would have to come back to the United States.
He's also a made man, so like he can't just be killed from. No, I don't think he's really in danger.
No. I think Tony's peacocking there a lot for Carmela. I don't think. I think Furio's safe. He didn't do anything.
I think Tony. I think it's also part of Tony's just flex,
stupid fucking game.
Trying to give the $20 to get themselves some new whistles. Anything he can to be like, well, I'm more of a man than this guy. Like, I can have him killed if I want.
Matt, I agree. It's just some stupid fucking game. Thank you, John Haymaker. I like when the chat feeds me lines. Great to see Mel. It's like Melfi told Tony. See, I was trying to say something, and then fucking Feach, like Levada, like that scream is maybe one of the greatest growl screams in the history of movies and television cinema. Like, that is like as iconic as I don't know, baby or woo from the Beatles for me. It's just like that sound from cinema. Like, do you know why Junior is so damn good? Because even when episodes don't really have to do with him, he just he's working without drawing too much attention to himself, but he's always sort of in it a little bit. Like if you watch Junior, he's just. Like, his reactions are so... Like, I live for Junior reactions. And look at Steve Sharippa. He really knows how to shut up. They really know how to not only write occasional lines for Bobby Bacala. And someone said it earlier. Yes, if I was going to be anyone in The Sopranos with my level of acting skill, I would be Bobby Bacala. Like, I could... I'm a theater guy that could probably pull off... You know, I don't know. I could do that. I could do that. I could sit at the table and go, oh, with those guys.
Yeah, you could say Quasimodo instead of...
Yeah. Oh, I could do that.
Yeah.
I couldn't do what the other three guys do. Listen to... And here we are with...
There's my girl, yep.
With Matt's future ex-wife, Adriana Laservo. And Christopher looking all dapper. He could be a male model, you know, Matt. He could. And
he has great hair. We find that out, too.
They're just douchebags. But Christopher is getting into this whole low man on the totem pole, like not hazing, not wanting to be the guy that pays thing. And Adriana in this moment is working for the feds already, so she's poking around trying to get any information she can. This is obviously before puppy dog tragedy, which happens this season. Is this season
No, we already saw that.
Oh yeah, that was last season. That was last season.
Because
Was
he doesn't drink when they're out.
No.
Already. Yeah, that already happened.
No, he already left rehab. He already killed the dog. We already saw the funniest moment in Sopranos history.
Was it Bakken?
The intervention, which I know a lot of people would say, the Russian episode, like Pine Barrens in general, was the funniest moment. For me, it's the intervention is the funniest moment in the Sopranos history. Like the funniest section of any episode. Olivia's funeral is high up there with Christopher. They all involve Christopher being very high or being fucked up. Christopher is the funniest character in The Sopranos, I think.
Yeah, Paulie or Christopher.
Paulie or Christopher. Tony's funny too, but in a different way. But I think Michael is more intentionally funny. Tony's just a funny guy that they capture on film. Like the more you learn about Tony Sirico, the more you know that line between Tony and Paulie and what I mean is Tony Sirico and Paulie is pretty thin.
Particularly how Paulie's that neurotic too. The whole like shoelaces thing, that whole scene with when his shoelaces are wet and he's super neurotic about stuff, like that's him in real life. I guess he used to walk around with Bananka in his pocket and like spraying people's mouths and stuff.
I'm sorry, Matt. I'm shamelessly was distracted by Carmela's butt in those pants, and by Benny Fazio, criminal mastermind. Like, and this is okay. Is Carmela using the hand grenade? Like, we know she can shoot the gun, but is she trained in grenades too, just in case?
Why did they hone in on it?
I don't know.
What is that going to be used for?
Maybe because he wanted to do a reverse Chekhov's grenade, like make you think the grenade was going to be used before the end of the series, but it never actually is. We finally know what happens after the credits. It's the grenade goes off. Christopher, keep your mouth shut. Christopher, keep your mouth shut. Don't do that to Paulie. You know better than that. Just bite your tongue. Let Paulie be a dink. And Christopher does the classic, I got to go to the bathroom, I can't pay thing. I thought I invented this move. Christopher does it. I do it because I'm poor.
You've been doing it forever, Phil.
Yeah, that's my move. Someone said this earlier, or it was Steve. It was Bobby Bacala in the Talking Sopranos episode. It's interesting to see Tony out with it's later on in the episode where Tony is, where Adriana's talking about Valentina, and they were like, why is Adriana out with or hanging out with a Gumar? And it's because Tony's separated at this point, so technically Valentina is his only girl. He doesn't have a Gumar set up at this moment.
You know what's interesting is that Paulie's second low man on the totem pole there, it looks like.
Yeah, I mean, because Feach would be the lowest man on the totem pole, but he's sort of an honored guest in that moment.
I don't know. I don't think he is. He's been a made guy for 40 years. He wouldn't be low man on the totem pole.
Yeah, Feach was made on the other side, I believe they say it a couple times.
Yes, they do. Earlier in the right, he gets talked about early on, so he would be higher up than anyone except Tony.
God, I love these two characters every time they interact. I think I'm glad there aren't too many episodes of The Sopranos after after Christopher died, and we didn't. Okay, I can't watch this next scene. I'm muting the audio because this is one of those moments that whenever when you have gas and you think it's actually something that's gonna kill you, and you start I start thinking, do I smell hair burning? I have 911 dialed and I'm ready to hit send. I'm like, do I smell hair burn? Every time I eat tuna fish or egg salad, I think of this scene. This is the scene of all the horrible shit Ralphie does and all the horrible memories in Oz or any other fucking HBO show. This one scene gives me more nightmares, Matt.
It's so they so intentionally had him have egg salad in his mouth. I don't know why. Someone was like, you know what we should have him have? He's got to have egg salad in his mouth. I don't know why they chose it, but they made it such a big part of it.
Yeah, I'm not looking.
Get that egg salad out of his mouth.
I'm not looking. And they said this on the Talking Sopranos, so I'm stealing jokes. No one's giving him mouth to mouth in that situation. They're like, just let him go. Okay.
Is this the worst actor in the show? Yes, and he shows it right here.
No, right
here.
He's the best.
John Boy.
He's the best actor. Oh, come on. You're saying he's worse than Skip?
No, he's not worse than Skip, and he's not worse than Big Puss,
and he's not worse than any of the FBI agents. I actually like Carmine Jr. a lot because I think he plays a dingus really well. Have you heard all the theoretical philosophy about he's faking all of his dumbness and he's really a secret mastermind? Have you gone down some of those rabbit holes?
I have not heard that.
Yeah, that he's doing it all to disarm people and he's a secret mastermind.
I gotta step off camera for 1 second.
Oh, what are you gonna do with your body? You're getting turned on by this Johnny Sack and Tony Soprano scene, where he is where he is. They're kind of getting into this whole situation. Wait, let me get this down. So in this scene, back and forth, we get, or the scene before, we get Tony in this scene, he's trying to get information out of Benny on everything Carmela is doing. As we go into, what is this? Oh no, I don't want to look at this. Is this why Matt went off camera? Oh no. Oh no, this is the dream sequence that Melfi is having, where she is having her own fantasy about our protagonist, Tony Soprano. I think just to kind of back up the scene that we get later and to answer that question on whether she's really attracted to him in any way, shape, or form.
Did you mute me or did I mute you?
I muted you just for while you were walking away.
Oh, I thought I had turned my microphone off. Had I not?
No. I just heard you go, hey, Jen, and I hit mute.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I didn't know if I figure anything that comes after that, you know, you wouldn't want on camera.
No, I turned my mic off, but I'm an idiot and didn't realize that by me turning the microphone off meant that my computer's microphone would just turn on and would pick it up. So,
yeah. So this is where Tony starts becoming pathetic. This is how I feel like I act in front of any woman I ever like. I was gonna like ask her out for coffee or something, but I decided to like
But see, we also know something about Tony at this point. This is like, he's obsessed with women that are powerful.
Yep.
He's obsessed with women that are smart, that don't need him. He's obsessed with women who don't need him. That's why he loved, what's her name?
Gloria,
the way that he did. And probably Valentina to a certain extent that he likes, because Valentina seems like she's got her shit together too.
She does, but I think she's a little too immature for what he's looking for. He's looking for Carmela. You mentioned the perfect, like, Carmela or Gloria, and this is the perfect version of that for him. And in his mind, the way he's internalizing this, because he's not that emotionally smart, he doesn't have a high emotional intellect, he's viewing therapy as real emotional connection. And if she accepts me so much in my therapy, she already accepts my life. I can just move her into Carmela's position. You know, yeah,
but I think he has more respect for her than he has for Carmela. He thinks Carmela on some level is a hypocrite.
Because he doesn't know the real Jennifer.
Right. He thinks that Carmela's a hypocrite. He thinks that, well, Carmela needs me. She couldn't do anything on her own.
He sees real Jennifer right here for a second. Like, why is this so important? I have to understand this. Like, intellectualize with me here. Like, talk to me about this. And he can't. She's testing him here, too. As much as this is her saying no, she's also testing his reaction to what's probing if she's saying to him, listen, this is what I hate about your life. You know, how are you going to react to this? And he reacts by calling her the C word and running out of there.
The word you can't come back from calling something.
Right. And the look on her face, look at the look on her face at the end of all that. Like, she's surprised. She didn't think he'd go that far, even right here. And when he kisses her,
she's probably never been called that before.
And when he kisses her, she's not entirely not into it. Like, she's making eye contact right there, and she doesn't pull away, or like she
did have that dream about him.
Like, that's what I'm saying. She's not feeling him 100%. It's intellectually that's not feeling her. She's having to use her mind. She's an adult, and she's like, even if I'm like high school Jennifer, probably would hook up with him right now. You know, I think that's what she's thinking, but I'm not that person.
I also like how you and I are both sitting here thinking we are speaking on behalf of what a female's thinking at this moment. So I apologize for any of our ignorance for either one of us. Having said that, Phil and I are both very feminine. So
yeah, fair. I'm talking about what a character would think right in this moment. And I've actually heard her talk about this too. So I'm kind of going based off of hearing Lorraine Bracco talk about how she goes into performances like this and her interactions with Tony. So that's where I'm sort of basing my opinion.
By the way, I like how Tony says there's another Tony. There isn't. There's only one Tony Soprano.
Yep.
There's not two Tonys. You're not that deep.
Goodbye. So we get back. Yeah, I think the end of the season ends in a similar shot as this at the beginning of the season, with like that woodsy thing, and Tony comes through it. Matt, I think that's
climbs back into his yard at the end.
Yeah, at the end to sort of circle around all of this.
By the way, what a pussy.
Oops.
Little Paulie is here because he goes in the house because he thinks he hears a bear.
Yeah, little. We got Sonic, your boy, Uncle Phil, and Uncle Matt Soprano. Can I use the WC?
Who says that?
I mean, in fairness, is he related to Big Paulie?
Yeah, it's his nephew.
Okay, so yeah, story checks out. As horrible as that is to say.
I just don't know anyone under the age of 70 that's ever called it the water closet. Like, who does that?
Yeah, he didn't even call it he especially the WC. That's definitely a grandma thing to do. So is Elliot a good therapist, Matt? You smug cocksucker, Elliot. Come on.
I mean, we know who the best therapist is in the whole series. So it's the Jewish guy that she goes and sees.
Oh yeah, 100%. 100%. Like you almost feel bad, like that Carmela didn't actually listen.
Yeah, and you also realize like, ooh, she's getting like slapped around so hard by that guy.
And then he's like, "You're on my side. I'm on your side, though."
But see, this is also the way Elliot acts. Elliot is so the antithesis of Tony that like that's also one of the reasons why she is secretly has an attractive, like is slightly attractive to Tony because like.
I also think Elliot is, like, he's probably a big fan of Goodfellas and The Godfather, so he's sort of obsessed with the magic of, or not the magic, the whole thing behind it all. The fact that she's even seeing him. I don't know. Elliot's a smug cocksucker.
He is a smug cocksucker.
As speaking of which, this is an interesting scene with Christopher and Tony. As Christopher says, "Is this about what's he say about the reindeers or about the the Easter baskets?" Like,
such a great line.
What's the fucking Easter? I don't know what that is. I don't want to know what that is.
To tell you the truth, I don't want to know what that is.
Absolutely, James. In retrospect, looking at what Elliot did, breaking basic protocols of even like his career, he showed to be an unprofessional douche by the end of the series.
Yeah.
By bringing that out at the party. I forgot about that. Great point, James. What do they call it?
Don't give him the Manson lamps either.
No, what do they call that later? The constipated owl look? Is that what Tony refers to it?
I don't remember.
I think when he's flirting with Adriana in the episode, he almost hooks up. They like do coke or they almost do coke and hook up. I think he refers to Christopher as like, "Oh, that disappointed look. I know that look, like the constipated owl look." I believe that's a line Tony does, making fun of him. Don't quote me. We'll see. I think that's this season. Exact Mel. I want to get a T-shirt that has a picture of Christopher. Just, is this about the Easter baskets?
It's such a great line.
It's such a great line.
Where does someone should ask David Chase that? What was the deal with the Easter baskets?
Dude, if I ever get a chance, that'll be my David Chase question.
And even set it up like it's a real question. So, listen, in season 5, episode 1, Christopher sits down to Tony.
Right, exactly. You set it up in this real.
Says,
yes, I'm trying to understand the philosophical meaning of this line when Christopher says.
He says, "Is this about the Easter basket?"
Is he talking about the rebirth of Christ in that moment or something? Like, what's happening? So,
David, please tell us.
So this is the scene where we get Paulie.
Do we know he's a rat yet, or do we find that out?
I think we find out in this episode, or we I think maybe it's the next episode that we see him as a rat, or we saw last year. But he is. If people don't know, Ray's a rat. And Ginny gets a lobster roll. Everyone's happy. They spend tons of money. Lobsters.
You got a big moose on.
Aww. I love Syl. Did you watch the David Chase documentary?
I did not.
Okay. It was closer than you may think, with Stevie Van Zandt possibly playing Tony Soprano. Like, it gets talked about a lot through history, like in a joking fashion. But
which, by the way, I heard there's a Stevie Van Zandt documentary that's supposed to be amazing.
Ooh, I haven't seen that. But the David Chase documentary, Matt, I almost want to rewatch it at some point when you rewatch and do a show just on that, because it's interesting. It's definitely, you get to see some behind the scenes footage of casting stuff that you've never seen before and getting some.
That would have been. Think of the course of television history, how different it would be if Stevie Van Zandt was. Because there's no way the show's as good as it is.
Mel says season 6, episode 1, we find out Ray's a rat. Thank you, Mel. Thank you for our.
No, we find out in this one he's a rat. They may find out. We find out in these next 2 episodes that he's talking to them. He's asking for stuff in the next episode from them. He like wants more money and stuff like that.
But Matt, don't let the first 15 minutes of the documentary put you off. They do some editing thing where they just have like tons of voices happening all at the same time. It's like blah, 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 blah. It gets a little like weird, but anyways, this part is
Let's just listen to it.
Yeah, it's dark comedy hilarious for me.
What's your problem? Stop trying to bait me, Paulie. You know my fucking problem is. No, why don't you tell me? You want me to tell you? Fine. Steaks, 3-pound lobsters, the shrimp fucking cocktails that everybody get. Then on top of everything else, you send them against a bottle of Cristal. I was being a gentleman.
Being a gentleman.
Try it sometime. Not to mention the leanies, fucking potatoes you didn't even touch. What? I lost my appetite. Fuck you. Excuse me? You fucking heard me. I'm telling you, Richie. I don't give a fuck anymore who you're related to.
This waiter's got balls, Matt. This waiter's
And
got
then walking
balls.
up to this.
Hey, Mohammed, great to see you, my brother from another mother.
With the service. What are you talking about? You left me $16, sir. Perhaps you miscounted. There's $1,200 in there. That's correct.
But that should be like a $250 tip. Like
Right.
Right? 200, 250-ish? Right there.
You think this job is easy?
Shut up, dude.
I have kids. Then go back inside before you get hurt. I have a goddamn family to support. Fuck off. Yeah, right. Go piss it away at blackjack. Fucking asshole.
Oh! It was like a step too far. But Paulie didn't need to shoot him. Chrissy, he's fucked up.
Don't they have medicine they're supposed to take, these assholes?
These assholes.
These
Don't they have-
assholes.
You said we could take a break.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, Paulie could have helped in the tip in that movie. Great point, James. Oh my god. And then they rob him. That's my money, Paulie. These two. I am so surprised they didn't get Tony fucking thrown in jail. If they didn't go to war with New York and time went on, eventually Paulie and Christopher would have put Tony in jail.
Oh yeah.
Fucking morons. Hey, Vanessa. Great to see Vanessa. Great to see some of our From fans in the live chat. We're doing a live Soprano watch of episodes 5-1 and 5-2. We're very close to the end of the premiere, and then we're going right into episode 2.
Phil, you think they got all the egg salad out of his mouth by this point or not?
No, I think that no one wants to go that deep, right? It's like once, no one's digging in for that egg salad. No one's getting paid for that. I can see there's a little yellow on the screen if you look closely. My search for Bill. Oh, okay. Bill W. Sober. I'm like, I was like, why are they focusing on that book?
Yeah. You get some sleep?
This is a great conversation between the two of them, and again, it's fucking hilarious.
What are you gonna do? I'm not too worried about the cops.
Yeah, one of us could have got hurt.
The reason I called. Let's bury the hatchet, you and me. All this bullshit with us.
I appreciate it, my friend.
Life's too short, Chrissy. You can't waste it fighting with your friends. Look what could have happened last night. One of us could have got hurt. Or even killed, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, for Christ's sake. It's so fucked up, Matt. It's hilariously dark comedy. And that's where The Sopranos...
They both realize the gravity of the situation. Like, yeah, one of us could have gotten hurt.
Do you know what's amazing about The Sopranos? And I would equally say Breaking Bad in this way. They simultaneously work as a hard, serious drama, thriller, whatever you want to call Breaking Bad. It's more thriller than drama or something like that in some ways. But I think the shows aren't necessarily even the same exact genre. One's more of a character piece. I would almost compare Saul more to The Sopranos in some ways. But anyways, like they're also hilarious. Like hilarious dark comedy mixed in there. I would say both shows do it intentionally too. I don't think it's like, oh, this stuff is sickly funny. I think they intentionally lean into their dark comedy.
Oh yeah.
I would say even especially The Sopranos.
This one is also the other added humor to this is just people not knowing how to speak English.
Yes, and like some of the people that they cast that don't really know how to speak English that they just cast in the roles.
Right.
So Tony, this is where we get to mad pathetic level, where Tony now she said no.
And it's like you're embarrassed for him almost because like, dude, he's offering her gifts that women in his life would fall for. Like Adriana would be like, this would be the greatest thing someone could offer. Oh my goodness,
Christopher, thank you.
Oh my God. Like, she doesn't give a shit. She can afford to go away by herself anytime she wants.
Is this the cringiest Tony Sopranos is in the entire series? Like, cringy. Like, Tony's cringy here. Like, intentionally. Like, it's intentional in the performance, but Tony's cringy as fuck here. Maybe when he's gambling, maybe in the Chasing It episode, he's a little cringy too, but like, or pathetic. Like, this is, like, the look in his face. Even the way Gandolfini's playing this. It's like Tony's lost all his, that... No,
and she is losing so much respect for him right here that she didn't have anyways, but, like, seeing how pathetic he is.
And they're shifting the power dynamic. And she's becoming so in control of the situation. And kind of just placing him. Like
and look at him. Look at his demeanor right there.
A beaten dog right there. He's a beaten, like she's so much smarter than him, and he knows it in this moment. It's like when someone bluffs you in poker and you've lost and you have to look across the table and see Joe's smug face scraping those chips looking at you like
motherfucker. Yeah.
Like I got you with that Cheshire cat smile on his face, like you fucking, and you're just like, he got me. That motherfucker got me. I got you drunk and did that once to you the other, like, over the summer too, Matt. I think I did that more to you than Matt did, than Joe did last
Oh,
week.
I'm sure. But Phil, that's because
that's because that game was more about fun rather than playing.
That's also because for 20 years
you beat me.
You played a certain way.
Yes.
No, you don't bluff.
Not often.
So,
No, true.
And we're all out of practice. So I'm not.
Very true. And I was playing against type in that moment and in general that night. And it worked out for me. Anyways, so this is the scene. I was confusing this scene with the last scene.
Yeah.
This is the scene.
This is when he calls her the C too?
Yes. This is when she rips him. It's like Mortal Kombat fatality, Jennifer Melfi. She eviscerates Tony in a way that no one, even his mother, has been able to do. Or Carmela. In like 3 seconds.
Tony in his head thinks he's a good person.
And he thinks, what could she possibly say right now to dissuade me from wanting this woman? She loves me. She's into me.
You're not a truthful person. And that's the truth. And he knows that's the truth.
True. True. Animals, yes. Kids, maybe. Maybe. Yes. Right away. Right there, he's like, fuck. And she goes, he won't even, that look right in her face right there. That's the last moment she's ever attracted to him. Bam. That is the last moment she's ever attracted. She couldn't even get into him. She started to just dig in a little bit, like the real Jennifer. You could hear the sound in her voice. Great performance by Lorraine. She brought more Karen out. If people have seen Goodfellas, she brought Karen there for a second. Like, you got a sense of what Carmela and Tony would be like if she had taken the Carmela part. And again, you hear about that more in the documentary, Matt. And again, that was very close. And she just, like, they brought her in being like, you can play Carmela. So
she wouldn't have been as good at Carmela as Carmela.
Edie was one of the last cast, I believe. I think Edie came in almost at the last minute and just ran right. Like
John Haymaker, both amazing points. David Lee Roth beat him at poker.
Yep.
And T1000 still owes him $40 boxes of CD. I watched that episode recently, the bust out.
Have you seen John?
When does it end?
Have you seen John Connor? I need to pay my ZD. So I think it's interesting that Tony does go to Carmela right after Melfi eviscerated him, because he starts almost the process in this moment of knowing that how good he had it with someone like Carmela that ate his bullshit, and all he had to do was keep his indiscretions out of her fucking face.
He knows that all the things that Melfi just listed, she wouldn't live with.
Yeah.
Carmela lives with most of them.
And the only thing that she eventually couldn't deal with was when he just kept throwing it in her face and throwing it in her face. And I think even some point in that conversation that they had in Whitecaps and what she says to him at the end, like, maybe if you weren't an asshole after this happened, I would have thought about rekindling what we have. And I think she probably would have. Once she ran into the roadblock of the divorce stuff, she probably would have circled back if he had done the spec out, which ultimately, spoiler alerts for future seasons, we've been doing it all over the place. We expect you to have seen the entire Sopranos here or not care about getting spoiled. Eventually, the deal that they make for her to come back or for him to be able to move back in is for him to get money back on the for the spec house. It turns into a whole thing about that. Matt, just let it play through. Exactly, James. Tony was like a big baby throwing a tantrum. He hates hearing the truth from people. And when he is in that moment hearing the truth, he will end that conversation as quickly as possible. And he will not even sit there and listen. Maybe Carmela can get a few jabs in because she knows how to, or Junior maybe, or Olivia, because they're family or they're connected. But in that moment, when Melfi was straight calling him out on his shit, he just won't listen.
By the way, John Haymaker, that's the line of the night.
Which one?
T1, the bottom one. T1000 never had the makings of a varsity Terminator.
It's true. It's true. He never could mess with the Arnold.
He did have the makings. Let's be real, but it didn't work out for him in the long run.
And let's see what anything from our past episodes. We're getting into our second episode of the season, which is called.
I mean, another thing, Tony. He's also just used to sycophants being around him kissing his ass, and when they don't, notice what happens when people don't kiss his ass.
Do we get into that in this?
No, it's the next episode after this.
Oh, you're fat, like the fat jokes.
Oh no, we see that, but the episode after that, when Feach goes away, that's what they. We didn't watch episode 3 now, but that's the one thing they hone in on is Feach being
the one guy that's not laughing at his jokes. I couldn't remember if it's this episode where he brings Tony B aside and says, "Don't make fun of me."
He does. This is the whole Reginald Van Gleason. Yeah, that's this episode.
Mark A. Houston. Do you know
I'm sorry, Phil. Are you playing into the next thing?
I already did. We're
pulling up to the house right now.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay.
And this episode is actually basically done by the entire Mad Men crew. This episode was written by Matthew Weiner and directed by Alan Taylor, is it? Directed by Matt Bishop or something, whatever. The people that directed and wrote this episode was the director of the first episodes of Mad Men and the creator of Mad Men.
Yeah, and for anyone, if you didn't just let it roll through, we're currently in the diner right here where Jack Mazzarone comes in.
Exactly.
By the way, can I tell you
this episode's called Rat Pack.
What would have been a great thing? Oh my God, one of the funniest lines in the entire series happens in this scene, but
which one? Because this in general is pretty damn fun. Is this the episode where Tony's like, I can't figure it out. I can't size people up. I don't.
So yeah, he's like, I'm gonna go in there. My dad always had a way to read people. He's like, what the fuck do I think I am? No, but when he looks at it and he appreciates it, as he's talking about the painting, he says, and it's funny because I usually don't like modern art. And he's talking about this painting just because it was made like currently, but he calls it modern art, which is the funniest fucking thing in the world.
I mean, is there a more obvious bug in the history of bugs under that damn hat?
That's something I really don't like about this episode, because like, why would you be wearing that stupid fucking hat?
He says it's because of the Rogaine. As someone that, I have a receding hairline, I've dipped it a little bit. Like, you don't have to hide your hair for Rogaine. You rub it into your skull. Like, that's not even a reasonable. Just for the record, if anyone never tried Rogaine, you don't it's not just big. Don't just hang out on your head. You have to rub it into your skull, right? Like, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, 100%.
Unless I'm using it incorrectly.
I did want to say that the last episode, I think a great thing what they should have done is just let AJ get eaten by the bear out back.
Yeah, that wouldn't have hurt the rest of the series.
Because then Tony gets to imagine how Tony feels after that, and Carmela feels for not having Tony there, and how Tony feels because his son was killed by a bear and he wasn't around to protect him. Adds a whole other layer to the show, and we get rid of AJ. It's like a win-win. Yeah. Does Paulie still have the house, the painting of the horse? I think at this point, this is before Tony goes to his house and throws it out, right? I think that happens at the end of this season sometime. Yeah, because he would have just gotten that painting at the end of. He would have just gotten that painting after the horse.
Yeah, so I think it happens sometime this season. I hear you got beefs. Like, it's when Paulie's talking some shit. Yeah, Matt Weiner wrote some great episodes, and I am a huge, huge fan of Mad Men. It's one of my favorite shows as well. And he great interview.
This is the line right here.
And I usually don't like banana.
But it's it's the funniest line.
No, it is.
Yes, Tony, that's modern art.
But again, that's the dark comedy stuff on this show. That's
so fucking funny.
So fucking funny. That's just, it's subtle and it's hilarious and it's really great. So what is it?
And there are probably people watching this show that don't see it's funny.
Yeah. No, that you could definitely, and that's, it's not played straight. And I think Breaking Bad too. You could watch Breaking Bad and except for Saul Goodman, and not think it was funny, and just play it serious. I think that's a trait that both shows share, and there's not much both shows share other than excellent main protagonists that are one of the top at Mount Rushmore.
There's such a different feel to those shows.
But I'm saying the things that they share is the Mount Rushmore greatest leads in series. James Gandolfini and Cranston are both sitting there in those spots with their smiles on their faces. There's no question.
What I said?
James says Tony expected Tony B to kiss his ass, and he didn't. He gets mad. Tony gets big mad when people don't kiss his ass, but then he feels insecure when people don't kiss his ass.
Here's us finding out Ray's a rat right here.
Is this the first time?
I believe so, yes.
No, we find out Ray's a rat when Eugene kills himself. Is that last season when Eugene kills himself after he gets the money and can't get out? Because the feds slip up and tell Eugene that Ray was... Oh, no. That's later on. That's when Ray dies. It's at his funeral. I'm mixing up a lot of stuff because I've watched The Sopranos so much, so it's hard to place out when everything is.
And we haven't done this in 9 months.
In 9 months. So it always takes us a little while to get back into the rhythm.
Right, and then you go and watch it, and I watch episodes out of order all the time. I'll go watch I'll hit the activities and watch a random season 2.
Me too. So it all kind of blends. Oh, this is where they really get Adriana by the balls here. Right? Is this where they see her throwing out is this where we get into the whole...
No, that's not yet at all. They're setting us up for that. They're talking about how they have a camera there. That's in a later episode.
Right. So it's a good point, Matt. They're setting us up later for that.
They're letting us, right here, they're just showing all the different surveillance that they currently have going on.
To set up why they get...
Yeah.
To set up why they get Adriana by the balls later. And one of the more...
I don't even think they need to show this right here. I think everyone in the face of the earth assumed he had a bug in his hat when he was there. But whatever.
I agree. But it's still, I guess it's important to complete the thought so there is no mystery to it. Do you think, it's a tough question because it's playing the what if game, which is almost as bad as the remember when game of if Gandolfini doesn't die, do we get the trial of Tony Soprano movie? Because it seems like so much of this series is setting up a trial, is setting up Tony Tony being under indictment. I know a lot of people think he dies at the end, and all of that, but in The Sopranos is king of.
Regardless, I'm glad they didn't, because if we've learned anything, The Many Saints of Newark is possibly the worst thing that's been made in the history of like television.
Fair, Matt, but I could argue, I guess, that if a Sopranos movie had come out a couple years after the time Gandolfini died, if he did not pass, his power and his skill would have elevated the whatever Chase would have put to.
Well, because you could have kept all the main characters.
Yeah, and had flashbacks while he was in trial and bring back
Junior
people.
doesn't need to be in it. He's the only one that's old.
But you could even bring Junior back if you wanted to.
He doesn't even, right, but he doesn't even know his name at that point.
No, I'm saying you could have, if you're, my idea for the movie, which again, I'm not a movie maker, so people can tell me this is shit, but I've said it before. You have Tony Soprano's trial set up where, you're dealing with all of that, and then you have that cut as they're doing testimony to shit that happened in the past, and you're seeing flashbacks of shit that happened of different time periods that you missed during the Sopranos run. Like they're showing you things that didn't happen. So you can bring back Christopher. You can bring back Big Pussy. You can bring back all those other characters.
As long as they don't gain a bunch of weight like Todd.
Whatever. It's acting, suspension of disbelief, imagination. I would deal with it. I would deal with,
As long as Meth Damon doesn't gain 40 pounds.
Hey, give him a break. He was great in that role.
He's so funny right here.
That's my Uncle Matt. He killed me, but that comes much later. Oh my God, The Many Saints was crap. But The Many Saints,
and this is where this is Junior. He does this thing where he says, "Make us an egg" twice, but then follows it up with something brilliant. Like he remembers, and this is what we're so slowly starting to see the decline of Junior. Because he tells him again, "I want an egg," and he goes, "We just went over this. I don't want an egg." But then he remembers something that Tony and Tony Blundetto did when they were like 9 years old at their sister's confirmation.
I would argue that Junior's decline is one of the best portrayed versions of that ever in a TV show or a movie, because it happens so subtly that you almost think he's faking it at first, and then it slowly just overtakes him when they cut his medicine. Like, eventually, like, the process of it, it's so believable.
He sits there and forgets something, and then he brings up something that happened in his sister Barbara's confirmation, which is
exactly like random,
35 years ago.
Oddly specific shit.
James, I agree with you. It should have been a miniseries, and I think to Phil's point, if they made something else, it should have been a miniseries. I think one thing that the Sopranos did better than anything was show how you can make 12 one-hour movies out of something and make a season out of it.
That's a great line for Bobby with he invented point shaving.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. I think it had more the makings of a pilot for a series than a movie.
It never had the makings of a varsity movie.
It didn't really. It didn't. It didn't have the makings of a varsity movie.
It was a hooah.
Wow, that works so well, actually. It didn't have the makings of a varsity athlete. It was a hooah. But it didn't. But it did have the makings of a decent pilot, I guess. Michael, his son's performance of young Tony wasn't horrible. I mean, there were some elements of the movie that you could, my girl, the Livia wasn't badly portrayed. Like there was some elements that you could see some carnals where they could have explored some shit if they didn't. I don't know, but there was too many member-berry casting. Like the Sill was comically casted. Ray Liotta.
The Sill, as someone else said, and I've parodied on here, was literally an SNL skit.
100%, like the Joe Pesci Saturday Night Live skit when like they were having, we're Joe Pesci. Like it was that kind of performance. And as much as I love Ray Liotta, he was checked out, and unfortunately, probably he passed away not too so. Rest in peace, Ray Liotta. But he did not give a good performance. Like it was one of Ray Liotta's worst performances for me. Like he just wasn't captivating on screen. He was just like objectivable. John Barenthal thing didn't work in Johnny Soprano because we saw someone that played a better Johnny Soprano on the show. Right. Like the guy who played him on the show did a better job than John Barenthal. He just did. Junior sucked. Sucked.
Yeah, and they used it was hacky the way they used that line, "Your sister's cunt," twice in it.
Yeah, like it was this iconic catchphrase.
Like, it's, if you saw this show, you know it's funny as hell when he says it, and it is famous.
But it's not a catchphrase.
It's a one-time thing to say, and he said it one time. You're then going to throw it twice into a movie afterwards? It was so stupid.
And I liked Christopher's father. I thought Christopher's father was decent, but shouldn't have been the star of it, the central focus. I think if all those other castings was done well and he was in a better script, I think he gave a decent performance as Christopher's father. I think him and...
Again, they were cramming all of this shit into, like, stuff that takes in this world, in this universe, along, like, episodes and episodes and episodes and episodes to develop. They crammed into a movie.
Yeah. Anyways, we're missing. We got introduced to. We're also Leotardo. We're also setting up the whole New York War here. This is the foundation of the
war within New York, not the war with New York. Like,
right, within New York. This is the friggin' assassination of Franz Deuce, whatever. Fucking sorry, I don't know my history well enough to quote that correctly. But it's like the inciting event that starts the war between John and Carmine here, and that's why it was important that we met Lorraine, we met Phil, we met. Why am I always blanking on his name? The consigliere guy. What's Anthony, whatever the hell his name is. Should have stayed retired.
Say it right. The consigliere.
The consigliere. Is that Billy Crystal in Analyze This?
You want a fresh one, Jelly?
I'm the consigliere. Billy Crystal was great in that. But those movies are underrated because they get made fun of and they get unfairly compared to The Sopranos because of the psychiatrist thing. But those are
the first one's hilarious. I don't know if I ever saw the second.
I don't remember the second one well enough but I remember the first one being very funny.
Yeah, Chaz Palminteri's in it. He's hilarious.
Many Saints was rushed. A couple of people saying I think you could have figured out a decent series there, but it was very rushed. So, what is Tony learning from this history special? Because this is not a new thing. He usually learns something from one of these things. He feels
what he's learning from this one is when he said the guy took a shot for you. It's about Tony B going to jail for him.
Oh, okay, fair. Okay, this is the most tactical Juliana. I just call it Juliana. That Adriana is through the entire series right here. She targets this girl, fucks her by the FBI. Like, in fairness, she was asking for it.
I don't think she wants to fuck her yet. Like,
no, but it happens by the end of this episode, I believe, right? Where she just sort of, I think the end of this episode.
Oh yes, 100%. Yes, she by the end of this, but it's the two scenes she has with Christopher when.
Yeah, I'm saying this girl was fucking asking for some repercussion for this, but it's funny how
what did she think was going to happen.
She does it in the most crazy passive aggressive way ever. Like I'm gonna get the feds on you. It's an interesting choice, and it shows.
No, because she's trying to kill two birds with one stone. There, she's just trying
to give them something.
In the back of her head, she's gonna give them something that's gonna let her off the hook. Like, she's not smart enough to realize, like, no, you're fucked, and they're gonna milk you till you have ruined your life. She's hoping that she can give her other random bullshit for people that have wronged her.
That's well said. And the person, thank you, chat, is Angelo, and we also met Rusty there, who is famous singer. What's his name? Isn't Rusty? What's his name?
Yeah, Rusty is now the guy who's. And they reference him in the Christopher Columbus episode.
But Rusty is played by this famous singer. I'm blanking on his name.
Yes, who's 90 years old now and looks like a
Frankie Valli.
Thank you.
I'm glad I remembered that.
In the Columbus episode, he tells Still, you got to call Frankie Valli because now Frankie Valli has to work there, which is hilarious because Frankie Valli
exists in this universe. Yeah, it's weird. So
no, Frankie Valli doesn't, but yeah.
No, but Frankie Valli does. But it's like when
but not as Frankie Valli, as
but
Rusty.
The Godfather exists in this universe, but Junior's in Godfather too. So I think honestly, the best show to ever handle something like that, Matt, I don't know if you're a Scrubs fan. Scrubs handle where the janitor is a guy, plays a character in The Fugitive, and JD thinks he spots it. Like he's like, "Wait, you were in The Fugitive," and then by the end,
I haven't seen that. But
and then by the end of the episode, the janitor's like, "It was me. If you tell anybody, I'll fucking kill you." Like it's sort of like he disclosed it.
That's hilarious. Who does he? I just watched The Fugitive from.
He's like a bit. He's like he just plays one of Tommy Lee Jones's foot soldier or a cop or something that goes
gotcha.
Stop Harrison Ford's stop. What's his name? You know, I forget the character's name, but it's the best way I've ever seen a TV show or a movie handle something like that. He's just like, "Yep, it was me." Oh my goodness! Hey, what you hear? What you say? What you do? We got the one and only, the amazing Walking David in the live chat. Who is? Oh, I love the Walking David. Thank you, David, for popping on in there. Remember when Frankie Valli was on Talking Sopranos? And what's up, U.S. Marshals? Thank you.
If anyone out there has not seen this yet, just Google Franco Valli singing now.
Oh yeah,
I was the saddest thing. Those videos, he's out on stage like,
but he's still hitting the notes.
You're not serious. Go watch it, Phil. He can't. He just goes out there like trying to lip sync it, but can't even do that. He's 90 years old. It's awful.
Oh, who's this again? Oh, this is Tony B's mom. So yeah, this is the scene. I feel like they introduce it clunky, but once he's in there, it's fine. It's like, there it is. There's a picture of Tony with Tony. And here he's back. Like, I haven't seen you in forever. Even though we've never talked about you. It's great. Welcome, Poochie. And at the end of the season, he's like, I am going to go back to my planet and go to New Jersey at Prohibition and start a casino. Oh my goodness. Kimball, yes, thank you, Dr. Richard Kimball. Thank you, guys. That's Harrison Ford's character. I think his line, janitor's line, is "Don't move, Kimball." Like that. He has like one line in the entire movie, and JD's like, "You were in that movie," you know. And then he denies it the whole time, and it's a whole big scene where he's like, "I wanted to believe you were something more," and then at the end, he's like, "Okay, it was me. I was in The Fugitive. If you tell anybody, I'll kill you."
This is a great line where he comes up and he says, "Where's Tubbs?" I think.
I'm back. Oh, RDO, yeah. Seeing Johnny V and Steve Buscemi together is something I didn't know I always wanted. Like, I want to see a buddy comedy with these two acting together. They play off each other really well. You don't see it too often. You see it a little at a poker table later, or hanging out in Tony's house, like when Tony's living in the Van Dyke by the river. No, living in the boathouse, or living in the other place, or his mother's house too. But like, they have a whole interesting dynamic, and they're very funny together. And God forbid everyone has someone in their family like Janice that's about to roll in here in a second. Oh my God! Janice. The sciatica. Oh yeah, the lost kid, right?
No, the twins weren't with him either. Where's Barbara? This would have been an opportunity for Barbara to be here.
I feel like every time they show Barbara, it's a different actress.
Yeah, but it's only once every 2 seasons, so you never know.
It's you wouldn't get this map. It's worse than the Mountain in Game of Thrones. There's this character in Game of Thrones called the Mountain, and like,
I know who the Mountain is.
Okay, literally, probably because you've seen who the guy who
who plays the Mountain,
like who's the strongest man in the world a couple of years in a row and all that kind of stuff.
And I've seen like his wife.
Yeah, where it's like she's like 5'1" and he's like 7'8". No, not really.
Yes.
But yeah. Anyways, they kept recasting them. I think there's like 4, maybe 5 different mountains.
Really?
Yeah, at least 4. But people can correct me in the live chat. I think people are no, Phil. There's 3, but I think there's 4. I could be wrong.
And John, you needed to like emphasize, "I don't care," in like all caps when he says that to him.
Yeah, I don't care.
I didn't kill my wife. I don't care. You know who's in that movie is Jane Lynch is like, that's like the first time, and I don't notice it until later.
Jane Lynch is one of the most underrated performers in the history of the universe. She makes I'm a Glee fan, but she makes all of Glee worth watching. If you haven't watched Only Murders in the Building, she's insanely awesome on it, especially in this newest season, season 4, which I will be talking about when the season's over.
I watched like an episode or two and couldn't get into it.
It's not, comedy is subjective. Sitcoms are subjective. Like, it's like junk food. You're gonna like what you like. You're not gonna like what you don't like. It's like reality shows and sitcoms, I think, are the most like you like your shit. And everyone else's shit seems disgusting. You're like, you like that sitcom, you like that reality show, as you're secretly watching Survivor. You know, I'm like judging you while I'm watching Naked Dating. You know, like you watch Big Brother, I'm watching Naked Dating. You know, like whatever. It's just, and I think comedies, like situational comedies, are like that too. It's like you just like the situational comedies you like, and you can't tell somebody. You know, some people like, unless you like. I was just going to say a show, and I know I was going to alienate somebody by saying a certain show. And I was like, I like that show. So I won't say it. I won't pick the show I was going to use as an example of like, if you like this, you're just wrong.
This is the most awkward thing in the show.
This is the Poochie line. Again, I keep saying it, but this is now he's back. He's back. And then this is again, Tony being Matt cringy.
Yeah.
And awkward. He's like that a lot.
But I love that they wrote it that way. He could have got up there and given a great speech, but that's not who Tony's going to be in that moment.
Nope.
He's going to say some weird, awkward shit.
He's totally. Oh, Mel, I watched it from the first time. I was hooked. The premiere. I watched the premiere of the pilot episode, which is one of the best pilots in the history of any television show. And I would include Mad Men, Breaking Bad, Sopranos, Game of Thrones. Like, it's a really good pilot. That even people that hate the rest of Glee, you can watch that pilot as one single thing and be like, that's a pretty good episode of a television show. It's just funny and well put out and good satirical dark comedy. But I watched it all the way through, like to the bitter end of season 6 was an improvement over 4 and 5. 4 and 5 were the doldrums of it. But the first 3 seasons, good quality, cheesy entertainment. So I do think Matt, that Buscemi and Gandolfini have good chemistry together, though. And I think now watching it, it's not as big of a problem as what maybe you had at the time with it. Because I don't look at Buscemi the same way.
And I don't anymore. And at this point, James Gandolfini is a bigger star in my head.
Yeah.
At this point here,
100%.
he's a star.
Good point. Good point, Matt. Excellent point. Is this when? Oh no, we missed the line.
Like, here's the thing: if you saw any of these guys in another show right now, you'd be like, you know, when Michael Imperioli's and shit, because he was in White Lotus.
He's still Christopher to me.
Yeah, but he also seems like a big star when he's.
Oh, 100%, 100%. He's one of the faces of the NBA.
And you know, it's funny because Steve Van Zandt, wasn't really known to, unless you were really into Bruce Springsteen.
He shows up in a lot more Springsteen's interviews with Springsteen now because of The Sopranos.
Right.
Like him and Max Weinberg became personalities because of Conan O'Brien and because of The Sopranos.
Right. That people know who Max Weinberg is because of the Max Weinberg 7.
Right, because of Conan O'Brien.
Unless you were, I'm sure. I've never been, and it's funny because Phil, you and I are both people who love rock and roll, love music,
Johnny's
love live
ticket
music,
of shit.
And neither one of us are Bruce Springsteen fans.
No, not even a little bit. But I mean, I think he's written some popular songs that I can give credit that they were good songs, but I find him not appealing to my ears.
But I don't exactly. But that's all. That is to your point before about. I don't want to say it that way because I think to some extent you could justify what's good music and bad music even if you don't.
Yeah, I understand he writes good songs and makes good music. It just doesn't.
And supposedly he's one of the greatest live musicians ever.
I've seen it comes off very James Brown, like he jumps and jumps, but I find him a little cheesy, and I find his songs a little boring. In my way I listen to it. That's not to say anyone who's a fan of his is wrong. It's just not good to my ears. Some people might find Resident Van Gleason. Some people might find some of the music I like. There are people that don't like the Beatles. There are people that don't like.
A lot of people that do it.
There are people that don't like Pink Floyd, and those are 2 of my favorite bands. I understand people aren't gonna like Blind Melon or the Black Crowes or some of the stuff that I really like.
I did name some really timely music right there with the Black Crowes and Blind Melon.
You're welcome.
What was I just going to say about the?
I didn't want to just name.
Phil, I will say this.
I didn't want to just name. I don't really like the Rolling Stones.
I didn't either, and then
I mean,
I hated the Rolling Stones.
I don't hate them. I just
an album I got it really into.
Sticky Finger is an amazing album and they have some incredible songs that I love. But I wouldn't call myself a Stones fan.
I think like "Gimme Shelter" is one of the 5 or 6 best.
I think "Wild Horses" is one of the greatest songs ever written too, and I think "Sympathy for the Devil" is a great song, and pretty much all their hits are great. I'm just more of a fan of the Beatles or Elvis or Zeppelin or Pink Floyd for classic rock. I'm not really that big of a Who or the Stones or the Kinks fan. But I know all 3 of those bands are fucking amazing at what they do. They're just not my brand of thing. And I think sitcoms are like that. Less so dramas, but I think music is very much like that. Like, I know that the Who is great. I just don't love them.
Yeah. I got to say this about Tony B, like not respecting him and stuff or making fun of him. It's hard when you were equal with someone for years and then they get.
Matt, could you deal with me, Nick, Joe, Michelle, anyone being your boss?
No, not you guys.
Not us guys. That's what I'm saying. Like, I guess Michelle's because Michelle would be respectful of you. But I'm saying like us guys, like me, Joe, Nick, and Nick would be a pretty good boss. Me or Joe or
no, but it's just different because we're just been busting balls for years and years and years, and in a certain extent, he is his boss. And I saw that working like teaching for years.
But could you not?
People I started with with just good friends, suddenly they become your boss or like someone high up. It's like,
could you not? But when and I won't say last names, when Scott was your boss in certain situations, if he was, could you not give him shit?
I don't know. That's different though. That's me.
But I'm saying you have to give him.
But I was also young. I was in.
But I'm saying you would have to. Like, it's the same thing. You have a similar relationship of Tony B with Scott. Like Tony, like you couldn't deal with the situation even in adulthood where you went in and Scott was your but you couldn't not give him shit at a poker table. Like if you could deal with be respectful in a business situation as Tony B, but if you're sitting at the poker table shooting the shit and he was like, don't insult me in front of our friends.
Yeah, but I wouldn't be playing poker with a bunch of. It's different because this is the mafia. I wouldn't be playing poker with a bunch of guys I worked with in Scott.
Fair.
I don't know.
But you did work with all the guys that were part of your poker crew when you guys all worked at the camp together.
We did, but we were also young kids.
And wasn't Scott essentially your boss in that whole situation?
No, he was the director, yeah. But it's fucking Scott. No one's listening to him.
But that's my point. That you guys couldn't Tony B with him. Like I said,
he also wasn't going to potentially have me fucking, rubbed out if I.
He could have had you. He could have had you rubbed out like fired.
Yeah, awesome. He eventually did. One year, the other woman who was director said, "Yeah, none of your friends are coming back here." Me, Mark, the PD, all got fired the same year. Like without, in Scott didn't have the balls to tell us. It was like afterwards.
So
we were just not hired back because the other boss was like, "Yeah, your friends are out of control. They're not going to be there anymore."
So this whole scene is interesting to me as we see Carmela's movie night, and they watch Citizen Kane as they're just going down the top.
Which, if you've never seen Citizen Kane, if you're not actually a movie buff, and I'm not claiming to be one myself, it's not like a.
It's not an easy watch. Yeah, it's not an easy.
Not an easy watch.
Not by modern standards.
No, and like right there, as you're seeing that scene, you're like, well, that's why it's amazing because no one had ever done that before. Like just even that cinematography.
I love how they just. I don't know if we missed it or it comes after. I love how they just yada yada over The Godfather when they're like, "What are the top movies of all time?"
Yeah, that's afterwards because this was number one. And that's Godfather 2 was number 2 on the list.
Yeah, and they're like, "Yeah, let's move on."
And she says it so awkward. So there was the cinematography.
That's one of the best. Those are the kind of awkward lines that Edie thrives in, and why Nurse Jackie is so good. If people ever watch that, like she just has this comedic tone to everything she does, and that's why I compare her to Edith Bunker because she's just like. And there's the beautiful, wonderful namesake of Matt's puppy. Toast to rest in peace to the wonderful Rosalie.
Yeah,
right there, sitting right there. My favorite of all the Soprano wives, so to speak, I think. When it comes to if I could be involved with any of the Soprano wives, it would probably be Rosalie. She's got your side. She's gonna satisfy every one of your needs, your sick fantasies, Ralphie.
Ugh.
Sorry, I'm not Ralphie, and I'm not Ralphie. Rosebud. Same with Richie when he got out of prison. He expected things to be the same, and he used to give Tony orders. Now he has to listen to Tony.
Yeah, and Tony, we talked over it before, but Tony actually references when Christopher goes in and says he shouldn't have to pay all the time. He goes, "Do you know how much I paid for?" And he says,
"Fat somebody in Richie Aprile."
And Richie Aprile, I had them. They were smoking cigars and drinking this and all this other stuff. And yeah, he was the one. He was the one fucking paying for dinners for Richie for years and years.
Yep. Oh, give me 1 second.
You think there'd be some romance at least? Janice, you're a newlywed. I know. 6 months and Bobby still hasn't found my rosebud.
Oh, poor Bobby. She's so good.
Janice?
Yeah, like I hate Janice, but like that's exactly how you're supposed to feel.
Yep.
And she's so good at that.
This is such an awkward interaction here.
She's just like Drea, Adriana. Like, I just want to gush over acting performances tonight because this is our first episode back in a while, and when you get back into this world, you're just struck about how locked in all these actors are. Like her innocent puppy dog look is one of the greatest innocent puppy dog looks in the history of cinema. Like, I just want to reach through the screen and go, oh, and that sets up what happens with her so well, Matt. Like, in such a horrible David Chasey-ian like way. It sets this up, and you feel for this girl and this person so much in the innocence that she portrays. And when she's giving that look like, will you be my friend?
Yeah.
Like, and
she's one of the people in the show you feel the worst for because you're like, fuck, if she could have just been born to different parents, like in a different world, this didn't have to be her life.
Mel in the
she literally knows no better than this. This is like all she knows. She grew up in a world where Christopher was your ideal mate, and like that's just what you end up with.
Carmela did too, to a certain extent.
Right.
Excuse me.
Yeah. All the wives did, I'm sure.
Yeah. That was just like you were around guys like Dickie Moltisanti, and you're wondering why I have a Gumar. Yeah. So Mel brings up a very interesting question, Matt, in the live chat, or just a point based on what we were just talking about. Can you imagine if Tony had to do 10 years and then came out and Chrissy was his boss? Like that would be very fucking interesting. Like a Sopranos spin-off series in the What If universe. Let's play What If with me for a second, Matt. What if Christopher doesn't die? The Sopranos series ends just as like another day in the life, and then they revisit the Sopranos series, or with Tony going to jail in a trial or some sort, and getting carted off from that dinner with his family, and later on we get a series 10 years later with Michael Imperioli playing Boss Christopher, and Tony gets out of jail, and he has to deal with like almost a proxy war of Tony coming out and being, going too hard, and having like older James Gandolfini playing that part, like losing everything and being even more desperate and like cutthroat. I don't know. I'm just making up Soprano what if scenarios.
Yeah, but I also think that if you're the boss in prison, you don't lose that when you come out. Richie was never a boss.
Okay. That being said, you think if old man DeMeo comes out, Tony gives up the reins? Bullshit.
Bullshit. Old man DeMeo wouldn't have been right. Christopher also never would have been boss. Let's be realistic. He had too much of the alcohol problem, the drug use.
Tony was grooming him for it. So Bobby would have been the boss if Tony went to jail?
If Tony went to jail, it would have had to have been taken by force by someone. No, Tony would still be the boss.
And he would have given his power. He was at that point
to Syl.
Yeah, I guess it would have been Syl or Bobby. By that point in the series, it would have been Syl or Bobby.
Syl would have just been the mouthpiece for whatever Bobby wanted. Sorry, Syl would have been the mouthpiece for whatever Tony wanted from prison.
So as we get into Buscemi, which is my favorite part of the Buscemi arc altogether, is the fact that him wanting to get out. Like his whole thing about wanting to be a massage therapist and all that. I find that tremendously interesting, and I think it's done really well. And I like how he wins everybody over with the massages here, but Tony just can't deal with it, and he's making fun of Tony, and this is where the scene I was wondering if it was in this episode, Matt, where he drags him outside. He does the Frasier thing.
And one of the funniest lines in the world when he goes, "We're not running at Jack LaLanne," which is, if you don't know who Jack LaLanne is, anyone, he's like an old He's the first guy that had a fitness show in like the 50s, and it looks ridiculous. Go Google who Jack LaLanne
They
was.
kind of make fun of Jack LaLanne on Seinfeld with Lloyd Bridges' character.
Yes.
With well, I forget his name of his character on Seinfeld, Matt. I don't know.
Mendelbaum, Old Man Mendelbaum.
Old Man Mendelbaum. Yeah, that Mendelbaum is totally a Jack LaLanne like 1-for-1 situation, right? Right? Isn't that kind of like what they're trying to go for on that?
Oh yeah. An old timey like I used Jack LaLanne videos. Used to have you work out your face muscles too. I watched years ago. It was on TV in the morning. I forget what channel.
Was that back in the
old Jack LaLanne?
I was just gonna disclose your last name there. Is that the King Kong K days?
No. Jack LaLanne was on in the 1950s, well before like
King Kong K was a thing.
Yeah, that was 1983 probably. King Kong K.
Anyways, that's my first memory of you actually. So here we go. Jack LaLanne with the broad shoulders. This is not Jack LaLanne's. You never know. I think. Again, I almost want to do this with you when we're done with the series, Matt, if we're ever done with the series. But play with a couple of Sopranos what-if scenarios. Like, what if Tony never gets shot, he never kills Christopher, and there's not a war with New York? And, like, how the Soprano family moves forward if Tony goes to jail because they're obviously building a case against him. I think Christopher, by that point in time, probably would take power. He would be the guy that would take power.
He'd probably be taking orders from Tony and still though, but yes, he'd be the acting boss, we'll call it.
I think Christopher would be the guy that was most capable of that position. I think
I think it would have been with the grace of
Tony from jail.
It would have to be because Paulie and the other. I mean, again, this is all. I don't want to play the what ifs because we got to see who's still alive if we're playing what ifs.
Yeah, no, and we'll play that game after the series is all over.
Bobby couldn't be it just because of his temperament. Like that's not.
So what?
I thought maybe they were fakes.
Oh, is this he's talking about that the FBI's are watching them? This is starting.
The Mazzarone up at where.
Oh, this is where they get into Jerry Mazzarone is a Fed. And Tony does not immediately click to the hat. They never actually mention the hat, right? He figures it out he compliments his weight. The next time they hang out, he goes, he said something good about my weight. Oh, he's a fucking rat.
He is a funny line here. They flipped a lot tougher guys than Jack fucking Mazzarone.
Yeah. James is speaking some truth in the live chat. Tony hates people having fun. He really does. He hates it. He hates if anyone else has fun. He even hates himself having fun. He likes being miserable. I really believe Tony likes being miserable. There was that. This
is a great scene just for
everyone. And Patsy is an underrated character on the show, and the actor's performance of Patsy is underrated compared to all the other thugs. Patsy,
there is the annoying twin thing that keeps showing up in The Sopranos.
There is. It is a thing. It's something I don't think about often, but it is actually a thing. Even with
Ray Liotta was a twin.
Tony B's kids are twins.
Yeah.
was very good at vibing people out too. Muscles up to something.
Jamie Lynn Singler was approached about doing a spinoff. Rob is totally out, though. I'm not sure it would ever come to fruition. I don't think a spinoff could necessarily work, but I wouldn't mind. See, one thing that I think is a forgotten about treasure of television history, Matt, is the reunion miniseries / television movie. The Brady's coined it so much. You know, the Brady series would end and then they do the Brady girls get married. And then they do a series about Marsha and Jan getting married for a couple of weeks after, for like a season. Like a mini series.
Yeah, what's weird is now it's easier to do now than ever because it doesn't have to be on TV. It can just be released as a.
Right. Like I wouldn't mind just an hour episode, like one episode that sort of like was Tony's funeral or something. I don't know, like whatever. Or did some like Where Are They Now with some of the characters. But really, who do you care about that's left at the end? Carmela? You're curious about her, the kids a little bit?
No, Jamie Lynn Sigler, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm saying like as the character, it would be interesting to see where Meadow is. It would be interesting to see who's in charge of the family at this point. Is it Patsy? Did Patsy become the Dawn? Did New York gobble up New Jersey? Who killed Tony if Tony is dead? And was it a plan? Was it Butchie that like shook his hand but secretly set him up? Was it Furio that killed him, you know. Anyways, Matt, take over for a second. Garth, I got to run to the boys' room.
Always the worst time. I think really, and Phil's not here to see, he's going to want to argue with me about this. I think El Camino was like, that showed what you could do for like a post-series movie, or in the Sopranos world, you could make a mini-series out of that. Of course, Phil left in a way where it's not playing the sound, so I do have to actually talk through this. Yeah, so what we didn't talk about was Tony said to the group of guys that when they were talking about Jack Mazzarone, how his dad had some special skill where he could always find out if someone was lying or not. And so he says he's going here to scout this out. And he goes there and just tried to hug him and pat him down 3 times, and then comes back and says, I don't have any fucking clue. What am I, a fucking mind reader? So again, this just being hilarious without any intent of being that funny.
What am I, a mind reader? And I actually liked El Camino a lot too.
Yeah, I did too. I think that's what I said. I don't know if you heard me. But
no, I did. I read the chat.
What I said was like El Camino is a great example of how like this is what you could make after a show. Where,
yeah, you don't need it, but it doesn't. It's not awful.
And what it did, and this is before Better Call Saul. And Phil, I don't want to get into this right now. I don't think Better Call Saul was as good as you think it was.
One of the greatest shows of all time, but different.
Not even close. But anyways,
we can get into that in our Breaking Bad podcast.
I don't want to. Yeah, but I think El Camino was a great way to just dip your toe back into that universe. And for people who miss it, I think that's what was really great about it.
100%. I'm with you, and it gave you that same energy. And it was pulpy like Breaking Bad. It didn't necessarily need to be truthful or on it. Like the whole thing that happened at the end was like magic, like magical action. And that's
Jesse.
Cool.
Jesse's one of the most, as far as I'm concerned, like likable characters I've ever seen in a TV show in my life.
Yeah, I agree. Aaron Paul just has this charm that you can't quantify in any way, shape, or form.
You like where you don't root for Walt at any point. I root for Jesse a lot in that series.
Get him, Mel.
That's a great Better Call Saul. Sorry, that's just me.
Fair, Matt. No one has to like everything. So this is the scene. I love this scene where Tony, like so much of Tony through the history of the show. I feel like this is again a David Chase like striking down here of being like, Tony's not magic. He's not like the Swami. He's not like Miss Cleo. He can't just read people. He's not actually good at reading people. He gets like, he read Pussy. Who couldn't tell Pussy was a rat? Like I don't know do you think Tony is for mafia people in movies supposed to be tremendously good at reading people, like have like that sixth sense to him or something like that? Like I think he gets his way more through force than cunning. I don't know about what you think, Matt. Because Tony,
I mean, compared to Johnny Sack gets his way through cunning and turning people against each other. I mean, Johnny Sack is by far the smoothest person in this.
Who is the best poker? Is Johnny's? And I'm only saying poker in a way of verbalizing it. You know what I mean? Who is the best poker player on The Sopranos that we've seen?
Well, I say Johnny Sack. I just watched a couple clips that they had put together of Johnny Sack manipulating situations, and the whole way he gets Ralphie and Tony to bury the hatchet. It's the first time, like when he makes him capo and all that other stuff. And in the beginning, there's some whole way he fixes this argument between Hesh and Junior that I had completely forgot even happened.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
And it's Johnny that goes in and just makes everyone think that he had nothing to do with it, but he was really the person that orchestrated.
So before this slips by, I do want to say this is the moment where Adriana realizes that she can't confide in these women. Like she almost gets close to thinking about telling them what's going on.
Yeah, I got nervous for her the first time I saw this. Like,
what happens if she tells them what's going on? She's dead. Like Rosalie will not hear that. Like Rosalie will maybe stab her in the throat herself right there in that moment.
I think Rosalie was probably the most loyal mafia wife to
the mafia thing, to this thing of ours. Yeah,
this thing of ours.
I am with you. Maybe Sill's wife too.
I think Rose seems to come across as knowing what really goes on more than the other wives do. Carmela, to a certain extent, I don't think Carmela knows. Like at one point when he said, I watched the episode recently when Richie goes missing, and he says to her like, listen, we've been together for this many years. You don't want to be an accessory after the fact or something like that. Like, don't make me say this.
And she goes, "Oh my God," and just walks away.
Yeah. Where I think like Ro was way more like knew what happened.
Yeah, Ro would be like, "Okay, cool. You know,
Yeah.
like good. Are we okay here? How can I help?"
Yeah.
You know,
that's
like
just my impression. We don't know that about Ro, but
you get that vibe from Ro.
You get that vibe that she's she very much
she's down.
Yeah, she's down.
She's down. I
and
agree.
then she's banging Ralphie. Like, she's down. Like,
I agree. I think Rosie is the best of them. The most loyal to this thing of ours. I 100%.
this thing of ours.
I mean, Janice is a gangster. She's in it for
Yeah,
herself.
Mel, that's 100% it. Like, Rosalie knows where the bodies are actually buried.
Mel, that's well worded, my friend. Angie was Angie also is a fucking badass, like, motivator. She turned the lemons into lemonade thing, like, big time. Like, she took her situation and she made the most of it.
She's the closest thing to like a feminist that comes out of this. Is like, yeah, I'm gonna just do my own fucking thing
and as a gangster herself in that group. She became a gangster. And
they get jealous of her when they find out all the other wives that are sitting home doing nothing are realizing like, oh no, I'm running the body shop now. I'm doing all this other stuff. When she finally gets it together, they get jealous of that.
Yeah, because she's basically an associate. By the end of the series, she's like more beneficial to them than Pussy was in that position. You know what I mean? Like, she's working with Tony. Even Tony is indirectly always an asshole to her, as we'll get into later this season with the Chauvet ran Phil stuff with the car. Oh, down goes LaCervo.
Oh, poor you.
This is one of the scariest. Good color commentary there, Matt. This is one of the scariest scenes for Adriana watching live the first time.
Yes.
Because you're like, they're going to figure it out. They're smart. They're smart. They're all, especially Carmela and Rose and Janice. Like, all of them are we just don't know Sill's wife as well as them. But like, the three of them are really fucking smart. And they could have put this together if they wanted to. They just didn't think that no one would think Adriana. She's the perfect.
Because Adriana's like from that world. She's from that universe. She's not like an outsider getting pulled into this.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they also probably don't know that she was like selling drugs, that she was doing illegal things, because none of them really did anything that would have gotten them, pinched at any point.
Let's see what's happening here.
Oh, this is drunk Tone.
Oh, drunk dialing his cousin who has to get up in the morning.
It's also at this point with Adriana, it is palpable how her day-to-day life is ruined by the FBI thing. How she is like stressed and has ulcers and gastroenteritis, all sorts of issues at this point.
How soon does I guess we'll see next time, but I think it might even be as soon as next time in the next 2 episodes we're going to do, where the Matif thing, where she sees where the feds catch her with and then that everything you're saying right there gets amplified. Yeah. And we really see the pressure drop on Adriana, mixed with her relationship with Tony gets a little closer in this stretch until Tony and Carmela kind of start their process of reconciliation, getting back together. Like, I believe in the next couple of episodes, or at least the next 3 or 4 episodes, is when we get into them hooking up a little bit. Like, I know Buscemi's there because he's the one that mitigates the situation, and it's before he's a part of things. It's like the first mafia thing he really does, when he when he stops Tony from essentially killing Christopher. Like, in the next couple of episodes, we basically see Christopher falling out of favor fully with Tony. Like, Christopher signing his own death warrant in these next couple of episodes.
Yeah, but it's really Tony's fault. Let's be real.
Isn't it all kind of Tony's fault? It makes me wonder, would Tony have been this guy if he was always just a capo and Jackie didn't die? I know I'm big on the what if scenarios tonight. Was Jackie more capable for this position than Tony, in the sense because he had Rosie, because he wasn't quite as ambitious, and he just had the position and was more about what we've seen of Jackie anyways, what was right and what was wrong. More simple. He had more of a simple perspective on things.
He also was loved by. It sounds like loved by the people that.
Yeah, even Junior was okay with him being boss. That's how we know that he was loved. Is that even it's declared that even Junior couldn't deny it because he loved Jackie so much.
What would have been really interesting. Oh, fuck. Now you got me playing this what if bullshit. Is what would have happened if Jackie was there and Richie got out?
Yeah. That would have created some interesting dynamics where Tony would have been in a position where he wasn't number one to Jackie anymore, and he would have had to deal with all sorts of
what would Jackie have done if Richie went and did what he did to Beansy?
I don't know. It would have made all those interesting parallels right there, and really would have made Tony and Richie's relationship even more scary. You know, like because
I don't get why Tony throws this off the bridge. By the way,
because I think that picture symbolizes
a symbolic thing with Jack Mazzarone.
Yeah, the friendship. That's just to show that my friendship is over with him, to show that this is going to happen. The FBI's were assholes towards Adriana big time, especially because they knew she was weaker than most of the people they were trying to break. So once they had any leverage on her, it was easy to get her to snap. So they knew it with the whole scorpion and the toad thing. They knew they had to give her the scorpion shit at that point. I might be quoting the wrong thing now. Scorpion toad. Good cop, bad cop thing. They realized that just bad cop. So is this when she finally turns on her friend? Because she's like, I mean, this
is got to be the end of the episode, right?
Yeah, we gotta be close.
Oh yeah, this is it. There's 2 minutes left. So this is it.
You're like, this got to be the end because I'm like totally done talking to you at this point.
No, I'm not.
I know, I'm kidding.
It's been going on for a while. I remember the drunk Tony call. I watched this episode last night. So
and everybody, as you know, when we talk about these episodes, we don't necessarily talk about everything that's in the episode. We just use them as jumping off points to talk about The Sopranos as a whole. Because most of the people, whether the few hundred people that are going to check this out over the course of time, are basically hardcore Sopranos people that have seen the show 1,000 times anyways, or they're just here to listen to Matt and I rant and rave about stupid shit. So either way,
which Phil and I literally are doing this as a means of like
keeping our friendship alive.
Yeah, that's it. I moved to Vermont 5 years ago. I've seen Phil physically one time, and it was about 2 months.
But because of this, compared to some of our other friends, I actually see you more than most people.
Yeah.
Or like talk to you, like I'm in your DMs more than I am most people. And that's
Phil. Who else do you have a 2-hour conversation with? Like not in person.
Besides Joe and Joe.
Right. And you do it through this with Joe a lot of the times.
No,
you see Joe.
Most time, like at Joe, we've talked about this before, and I haven't talked to Joe in a while. Probably next time I talk to Joe will be, except for yesterday because it was his birthday. But the next time I'll talk to Joe will be with The Last of Us season 2. And Matt lives in Vermont. When we were doing Soprano stuff towards the end, when I lived in Salem, Matt lived a town away. We actually got together a couple times a month, once a month, to do a live watch in person where we were watching it in person.
Yeah, and your cousin, and like all sorts.
Yeah, we had a bunch of stuff, and it would be fun to recreate that in some way at some point in time in the future when we get to like the final episode or something like that. Like do a fun final watch of the final episode see if we can get Alan and Craig there and get you down here, coordinate in a weekend for you to come visit your parents and your brother and sisters. But like we would set it up like that and all those kind of situations. But Joe, who I do hang out with every once in a while, like when we want to go out, but lives literally, Matt, you've been here 5 minutes, maybe a 7-minute walk if I walk fast from me, like a 2-minute drive from here, maybe. Yep. And Joe and I still mainly talk when we're doing a podcast live.
But you're both weird hermits, and that's one.
Yes. If either one of us said, "Hey, can I come over to your house?" Either one of us would be fine hanging out, but neither one of us wants to leave our houses to hang because so we only hang when we want to go out, and we're old, so we don't go out too often.
Right, we're old, and like Joe's essentially married, so like
Yeah, and like Joe is essentially the same way as I, and if he's watching this, he'd agree to this too. Like, we just hang out and, do hippie activities and watch TV or play video games. And we're like, I don't want to do that at somebody else's house at this point in my life. If I'm going to do that, I'm going to do that sitting on my ass at home. And if you want to come hang out, you can come and hang out. If you don't, you don't. So that's tends to be why Joe and I don't hang out on a weekly basis or something, because it's like.
And when we were younger, Phil.
Oh yeah, we lived very, very close.
But Phil also had, at times when you lived at your parents' house and you didn't want to stay at your parents' house, Phil had a basement at his parents' house where it was like just Phil had this giant room that everyone would hang out.
And at certain
meeting point.
And at certain points in time, the room didn't have a lock, so I wasn't always there when people were hanging out there. There was many times where I was at work or I was hanging out with my girlfriend at the time or somewhere else, our band rehearsal somewhere, and the theater rehearsal, and people were there hanging out when I'd get back, and there'd be like the whole room full of people in my bedroom.
Whole room full of people and hippie activity.
Lots of hippie and beyond hippie activities too. And we didn't do podcasts, but we'd have very illicit discussions about television shows and movies, and we would play.
We'd play group video games.
And I would do we'd play a basketball game, and I would do play-by-play.
Phil and I, for like a year or two, every night at 1 a.m, I'd stop by his room before I'd go home, because my parents lived right near there, and we'd play video games the night. I'd always pass out on the couch.
Yep, and I would do strange, ridiculous play-by-plays. But let's get into the end of this episode. And
sorry, I don't know that.
No,
we would just talk about this.
Yeah, we were literally waiting for an opportunity to just get into shit talk there for a second. But I just ended the poll. We'll see where that poll ends. And Matt, before we start to wrap this up, we will be back sometime within the next month. We'll try to get something done. This is October?
Before Thanksgiving, because I'm going away Thanksgiving.
Yeah, we'll try to do something at the beginning of November, and then we'll try to do something mid-December when I get back, because I'm going away in December to California and Vegas to visit Nick, and we'll do something before Thanksgiving and then before Christmas, and then mid-Jan. But
before Martin Luther King Day, we'll just keep it all.
Let's start with before Thanksgiving and before Christmas. So expect 2 more before the end of the year at least.
Dude, slow down.
2 more. We can agree to do 2 more before the end of the year.
Yes, but we also agreed to do all of season 5 by
Shut up.
June.
Shut up. But last year we agreed to do all of season 4 in the year, and we actually did it.
We did. We might have carried into January once, but that was it.
But seriously, our season 3 into season 4 game was good. We did very good with that part of the game. What are we doing for Halloween? I'm not sure. I might do some sort of live stream for Halloween night. I gotta think about it. I'm watching a dog. I'll have a dog here. But I know is Halloween on Wednesday or Thursday?
Thursday. It's a week from today.
So maybe I'll try to do some sort of stream next Thursday. Maybe a horror movie watch of some kind or something. But let me think about it. I don't know. I know. Obviously, From this week will be very Halloween-centric, or because it's the Halloween episode of Rum. But sounds like a plan.
Yes. Let me ask you a question, Phil. What about?
No. Yes.
You got any thoughts on? Did you ever do a Severance?
I haven't done a Severance season 1 stuff, but I wanted to cover
season 2's like supposedly
in January, right?
Sure, but
yeah,
I don't know what it is. I've been waiting for
Severance might be the first show ever that I'm able to get all of my friends in one place at one time to talk about it. So because I think Joe might be down for Severance too, and I know Tony's going to be doing Severance on his channel, and maybe I can get him to come over here as well too. So we might get some big Severance casts. So yes, absolutely. I'm not going to say we're going to do every single episode of Severance as it comes out, because we'll see what the timing is and what's going on at that time of year. But I might be doing weekly Severance stuff, Matt. So if that's the case, I'd love to get you on here and there, even for popping on for 15, 20 minutes to just give your thoughts of episodes or
and if you want to do a season 1 thing at any point.
Yeah, I'll definitely do a catch up of that, and I need to rewatch season 1 before season 2 in general, or right after season 2. Sometimes I just wait for the catch. They'll do a video where they catch me up on everything. But
if not, what you should do is just go watch the last episode, if nothing else.
Yeah,
the cliffhanger of when everything goes sideways.
And
it's one of the best episodes of television ever made. Is the last episode of.
And I think as much as I love so many other shows and the way other shows are work and do the mystery box thing, I feel like Severance handled a cliffhanger better than any show has ever handled a cliffhanger, because they gave you satisfaction and gave you the cliffhanger. They didn't just make you feel like you had television blue balls. Or,
right.
Like it gave you more of like, oh my God, I can't wait to see what's next feeling, not a like, oh my God, they're going to make me wait to see what's next. Like, because even if
you saw her blow them up on stage, you saw him tell his sister, oh my God, my wife's alive. Yeah.
Slight spoilers for Severance, but
shit. Go watch Severance.
Out of context, what you just said won't matter much.
Right.
Like out of context of what was actually going on at that point in time in the series.
Right. I didn't even say who was alive.
Yeah, you said her when she does this thing and does it. Like the only people that are going to know exactly what you're talking about are Severance people. So if anyone pops in and says you're lying, you're fucking lying, because no one would know what the fuck he was talking about unless they know like what's going on episode 9 into episode 10. So maybe you're watching this. If you finally watched Severance and you didn't watch this, and you made it almost 2.5 hours into a Sopranos cast, and you listen to that and you haven't watched Severance, and you get to episode 9, you might be like, "Oh yeah, Matt, fuck you." And if that's the case, okay.
If that's the case, fuck me.
Fuck
that's
Matt.
fair.
Yeah, if that's the case, fuck you, Matt.
If that's the case, fuck me. I
Anyways, everybody, thank you so much for joining. I will be back with Tony on Sunday, live streaming here and on Teflon TV. For the next episode of From, we will be joined by one and only Donna Elizabeth Saunders. Make sure you join us for that and get in your questions and comments. We'll be taking calls and all that fun stuff. And everyone have a happy... Is this week Halloween? Like this coming? No,
it's a week from today. We just
okay, yeah. It's short-term memory loss, Matt. Come on, give my
all that activity.
Yeah, give me all that hippie activity. I've spent a lot of time talking about that tonight. Anyways, if you enjoy this, please hit the like button. Please hit the subscribe button. Share the channel with a friend. Make sure you just keep your Sopranos comments going, because I realize that out of everything I've ever done on this channel, this is the most sort of niche. So we really do appreciate anyone that does join us, and the handful of you guys that join us every time we do these, and that have carried through us, some of you since the beginning of us doing these damn Sopranos stuff in all the different formats. Matt,
and we love, and we know it's the most quotable show of all time, so we just love
just getting to live in
any
this world.
reference to varsity athletes or varsity anything like that. It's all so much fun.
Yeah, so keep it coming, everyone, and we'll keep these Sopranos coming. We're gonna finish this show, Matt. Well, we might even finish it this year. I'm saying it.
You knock it off.
Okay. Someone actually said to me, "Why don't you guys just do like one day where you and Matt just sit and binge watch the series, like cheat like we did in season 2? Remember when we cheated and watched like 5 episodes in one day?"
Oh yeah.
I mean, we could always do that, but anyways, or just binge watch the season and then just do a podcast about it. Like, just be like, "Oh, we're gonna finish season 5 here. We'll do a podcast about it." But no,
I'll feel like we're cheating.
Yeah, we're just doing we're already kind of cheating with 2 episodes at a time.
Phil, then our friendship's over.
No, we're gonna talk about Breaking Bad. We're talking about Breaking Bad, Matt.
Going.
We're gonna do the Many Saints and Breaking Bad and all that stuff. Go get yourself a gun, John Amaker. I don't really. I mean, in the Sopranos sense. By that, like, turn on the Sopranos. And the poll: do you think the Tony B arc worked? Yeah, Noah had an arc in season 5. 75% of the people say yes. 10% say I don't know. No more than yes. I don't know. Yes more than no. 10%, and then 5% say no. So most people do think the Tony B arc worked, Matt, and you're fucking wrong.
That's fine.
Yeah. And people,
I'll be reevaluating it over the next however long this takes us.
Next 2 years that takes us to finish season 5. Anyways, everyone, have a good one. I'll talk to you guys on Sunday. Peace.
Turn this music up or what?
Oh, we're over.